might have ended.
Okay, we're recording.
Oh my goodness. I'm just kidding. Last one on the last day.
You're the last one.
Well,
So
we need
had
to solve some of the budget problems first.
Oh.
We tried to stay true, but.
Probably not closer, huh?
Should I have worn our mascot costume?
And we're gonna be in costume tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. I know. We could just have him on. Our Flash the
Kim's department is
turtle.
going to be election workers.
Oh.
No, actually, everybody's dressing in black, that's like.
Yeah, we're all dressing in
Green and a
black.
broom
Wow.
and a hat.
Oh, there you go.
Just tomorrow?
Well, that's what they're saying, it's Halloween tomorrow.
Is it costume day tomorrow?
Yes,
is,
yes.
yeah.
It's Halloween.
Is it?
You're paying for a pizza party.
I know it's Halloween, it's my Uncle Howard's 91st birthday too.
That's
Reminds me of
not.
the Twilight. You want to see something really scary?
You want to see something really scary, come back on election
Yeah.
day.
Anything and everything that you want.
How far back?
What do you dress in middle?
Oh, you're starting the front.
You know, I love to tell people if they have Halloween,
Black t-shirt.
take your mask
And then
off,
bottom.
it's over.
Brenda would love your picture or something.
Still in costume?
Sometimes that's all we see, sometimes it's
So I
not.
bought this. It's old school, but you know, they should expect first time girl. It's funny how you kind of have a file and have somebody has a.
Funny.
And mine has glasses on.
Double park.
Thing.
Regular parking ticket.
Oh, that's
Like
cute.
you're
Yeah.
a
And then
kid.
if you're sure, she's got a dollar
But you
bill.
can't pick it up like
She found it.
The shirt, the emoji for that.
Yeah.
Okay, hee-ho, are we ready to go?
All right, so we're just gonna do just a quick recap. Allison, we've shared all the main financials with the township. Just wanna kind of show you where Parks and Rec is projected to be for 2020. Got all the funds, the township funds on the left-hand side, all the revenues and expenses in that second column, the unassigned fund balance at the end of the last audit, and then unassigned fund balance ratio. So back in 2015, there was a issue put before the voters, or it
It was
was
November of
14.
14, they slip on started.
Right, in 15.
Yep.
Imagine we didn't have that millage right now. If we were 9,000 to the good of the general fund, the Parks and Rec is coded to the general fund. So, to some of the points that have been made earlier about, you know, why haven't things been approved or been brought forward, and what couldn't we do more? Can you imagine, you know, we have a dedicated bunch of services, we have dedicated revenue now, it's made it possible and it's made it vibrant. So, part of it is the staff, undoubtedly, good leadership and stuff like that, but part of it is also having the framework and the structure to make it
Yeah, they make it work within their budget.
But yeah, there was, if that wasn't there, I mean, we'd be hard pressed, no matter how awesome anybody at this table would be, so it's just an economic reality, so. So about in the middle, part of the page, there's the Parks and Rec Fund, it's the 280 fund. We have,
270? Or, no, I'm sorry.
280.
You're right.
Yeah, just above the library there.
Yep, you're right.
So you have expenses slightly over revenues. It doesn't bother us greatly because we have got some capital projects planned. And if you look at the unassigned fund balance ratio, it's basically really healthy. They're ahead of where we thought that they'd be. Barb and I sat down a few years ago and kind of project where we think things are going. This fund is in good standing and healthy and whatnot. So that's fine as far as we're concerned. And if we switch over to the multicolored sheets here, last page there. Parks is right in the middle. Basically, you have some capital, the orange again is the one-time related amounts and stuff like that. And the blue is reoccurring. So these are both capital related items. I think one we're gonna knock out this year, if I'm not mistaken, I was gonna speak to that.
Right.
Over at the state. Ball field improvements at Rotary Park, that was a yes. The idea is to take some of those funds from the millage and improve the properties and the parks and whatnot. So happening, and it's good. Over in the main budget book, this book here, Parks and Rec starts on page 51.
So I have a question, though. You had mentioned, that is it the FICA line, is that going to be done this year?
Right. Or do you want me to talk about it now? I can just,
Well,
so,
no, you don't have to.
Okay.
But
But just,
it probably will be done this year. It's looking that way. Yeah.
okay.
mhm,
So the 3,385 would most likely hit in 2019, correct?
Right.
right.
That kind of happened since we kind of
Yes.
mocked all this up.
Sure.
But, yeah, on page 51, that's the revenue side of the 280 fund, the Parks and Recreation Fund. Yeah, you see at the very top there, that's the dedicated millage. That money is all calculated out and put into the 280 fund for their people and their services. Then there's largely two other revenue sources that they rely upon, and that's the fees from the activities, charged for services that they have, or the services that they conduct. And then there's a contribution from the general fund, 67,402, almost held constant from 19 to 20. And then some other, revenues that come in, interest, some rental income. So that's the revenue side by and large. Page 52 starts all the expenses, 52 and 53. And a lot of this is just redundant from, as far as like from the board's perspective, in terms of speaking to the, a bump in the pension costs from, last year to this projected 20. It's based on market performance there. The retiree healthcare trust trying to get after the unfunded liability and the township's corrective action plan with the state of Michigan. So that's the allocation to this fund. Employees are there.
Is there
Yes.
a question about the contribution from the general fund? I see it went down from, in 19, it went down 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, we were gonna bring it down slowly but surely every year.
Yeah,
That happened this year, I wondered why.
That did happen, that has happened the last few years. Basically, and just speaking for Gary, I guess on this point too, we sat down and projected that's, if we're able to sustain it, we'd like to more or less keep it at that point, because at the time that we went forward with the Parks and Rec millage, the township really didn't have the space to probably give them the millage that they needed. There wasn't the gap or the space there to do that. So we knew that, we thought if we're gonna continue at a roughly the same level of service, the general fund would still have to be a participant in that. Now, that's discretionary. Now, the board doesn't have to do that or anything like that.
Going back to before you started to decrease it, what was it?
300,000.
300 and it went down?
Second year, 275, 250, 225.
Yeah.
Is this our second year or first
I
year?
think it was about 25 a
I
year.
think it's the first year
See,
because,
see,
No, we got
19,
200 last year.
20 would be the second.
50, 60,
oh, 19, so
70,
this one,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
2020.
This is our sixth year.
So we had
So
before
second year,
the,
200.
before the millage, we had a general fund contribution of like $700,000 or $750,000. When we got the millage, then it dropped to 300.
To 300.
Right, and then every year, so 15 we were at 300, 16 we were at 275, 17 250,
When does that
18
millage?
225.
When's the millage
It's
come
a
up?
10-year millage, so we will be going out again in 24. If there's a 24 or 25.
14 was when it, 14, 15.
Yeah.
It started in 15?
Yes.
So it has to be voted on again in 24.
Correct.
To
Yeah,
continue in
24.
25.
2024 was a 10-year
And
millage,
it-
operating millage.
Okay, so 2024 will be on the ballot again.
Correct.
And at the time we looked at it, the age of our parks, the age of the buildings in our park, the fences around the ball fields, the backstops, I'm just saying, the bleachers, outdated playground equipment, just everything was very, very old, and I won't say neglected in a bad way, but there was just no funding to help with this. So we figured that the general fund contribution, especially after asking people for millage, we front loaded a little bit at the beginning so we could start doing some of these repairs. Waterford Police Department, they chipped in and went over to Shell Park. And we did the
Dispatchers
pavilion, we
Association.
redid the concession stands, painting and fixing stuff up and just, and then since then there's new bleachers have gone in over there. And again, they're modern day bleachers, the ones that were there before were not. any way, shape, or form safe to be in, and the guardrails on them and grab rails on them and stuff, so which everything was very, very, very dated. So there's a new backstop in Shell Park, but again, it's just been, so that funding has been used, you know, to help kind of like, you know, get the parks up to date. And we had buildings, I mean, it rained as hard inside as it did outside, and some of the buildings or the roofs were so bad that it just.
Yeah, and the problem we ran into when the recession hit, we tried really hard to maintain the same level of services, so the community didn't know, we didn't have to start hacking away at the programs we offered. And in turn, what suffered was the maintenance of our facilities. So we kept staff on, and to be able to offer these community programs and athletic activities, you know, 2018 to 2012 to 2013, and then at the expense of not being able to do a lot of those larger capital improvement projects that we've now been able to kind of do and play catch up on a lot of the neglected facilities and amenities. So,
Over there on Elizabeth Lake Road.
Elizabeth Lake Woods, or no, on Elizabeth Lake Road. Lions Park, off of Lions? Oh yeah, I'm like, wait, Optimus Park, yeah, Optimus Park.
I used to play ball there, I can't remember, and you did. No, we had a building over there, we kind of evaluated and looked at, and the amount of money it would take to fix it, we just tore it down. It was obsolete. But it could be used for storage, but the building, the roof was so bad, it was rotted out, so we just demolished that, got rid of it. It just a lot of time and effort going into it, but again, like I said, it all comes at the cost. And then we've put roofs on a lot of the buildings at the parks and stuff. And there's, I know, who was Julie Brown, what they put?
Optimus Club.
Optimus Club, and they put rail guards on top of all the fences over at Optimus Park there, and that's a safety feature.
Yeah,
But again,
absolutely.
like I said, there's a lot of good things done, but again, this stuff continues.
Yeah, and a lot of what we do, I like most, goes hand in hand with the revenue we see coming in from programs. So if we have good facilities and amenities at our parks, that's gonna turn around and say people wanna play in our sports leagues, they wanna run our facilities, they wanna patronize our parks. We have one of the highest levels of softball teams that are registered for the USA Metro Detroit softball in the whole Metro Detroit area. Royal Oak is second or first in 94. We have 90 teams who register annually. So we have a lot of people that play softball here in Waterford compared to a lot of communities.
Softball?
So it's a big, you know, when we do these ball field improvements that, you know, pays back with enrollment and participation too, so.
You triple SA, is it?
It's, it used to be ASA softball,
Right.
Metro Detroit, now they're
It's
USA softball.
USA? Okay.
USA softball, Metro Detroit.
Okay.
So they just had their annual conference, and we are the second, out of all the communities that participate in USA softball, Metro Detroit, we're the second highest registered teams in
Wow.
that area. So 94 Royal Oak has, we have 90.
We
So,
maintained, Waterford's always been known for its softball
Yep.
teams.
so that type of thing, you know, when you see something like that, comparatively, you know that, you know, you're doing something right, whether it's programming and facilities or a combination of the two. So that's a good thing for our community,
Yep.
so.
We like to vote and play softball.
Right, yes.
We had the last basketball softball league in Oakland County,
People
the
like
last
to vote.
softball team, league. Yep, Waterford did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, but the idea of the millage was to have Parks and Rec self-sufficient on the millage by itself.
The
The
problem
thought
was,
was not to have to pull out a general fund and let them.
however, when they went forth for the millage, we are limited to 10 mills, and there's a calculation. So they couldn't ask for what they really needed to. So they needed to ask for slightly more,
The
but
request
they
was
were.
0.5. It
Okay.
should have been 0.65.
Right, because we were already
Couldn't do
built
it.
out.
They
Millage
couldn't
out.
do it.
So they
So
asked-
that's the point at which, if the parks are going to continue, you know, their maintenance program, that's one of the largest amounts that kind of go. There's 45,000 that goes into the capital project fund every year, and 130,000 that Allison reinvests into projects. So right there is a majority of the 200,000. So that's why we've kind of leveled off at that.
So we're gonna stay level, well, I guess we won't know.
The intent is at
Does it
this
stay
time,
level at 200?
within this budget, it's at 200,000.
Yeah, this,
Yep,
I know we can't project what's gonna happen in the next couple of years,
correct.
It's hard.
but is the thought, of you two, that they stay at 200,000, to catch up on everything that's been neglected over the years?
We're here to report the standing and the position and where it's at. The discretion on what gets allocated, that's for you guys.
So if it was a choice
But
to
we
make
feel
it
that-
up or down.
We feel that, yes, that the service level that they're providing, without that, or if you took it away or diminished it anymore, they're gonna start to teeter on a down, you know, not a dramatic spike, but they would start
Yeah,
to
and I
really.
understand the discretion of the board, how we spend the money, but I look for you two to, if they say, help me on this, make
Yeah.
a decision, and that's what I'm asking, you think it's gonna have to go
I think that they're gonna
to
need
keep
some.
this
support.
pace so they can keep maintaining it?
Yes,
Just
Yeah.
that's what they,
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Short answer is yes.
The-
The millage, technically, we should have asked for more in the original.
We couldn't do
millage.
it because we're billed out.
But we
No, we
couldn't.
couldn't.
Yeah.
so.
So we had to, we decreased the general fund $500,000.
We've
$500,000
decreased the contributions.
Yeah, I
substantially.
always was under the impression that the millage would
I don't know.
make them run
I wasn't here then.
self-sufficient, we would have to fund them out of the general fund.
Made them more self-sufficient by,
Yeah,
Well,
by
maybe
made
more,
it more.
absolutely.
but in turn,
Yeah,
we could
yeah.
not,
Pretty close.
you know, was it possible to do what?
Yeah, when they asked for the mills, it was unreasonable to think that they'd be 100% self-sufficient, knowing what they could only ask for.
And another thing too, and Barb
They
brought
couldn't
this
ask
up
for enough money.
I know
previous
because
to.
we're tapped out,
Yeah.
you only ask up to 10 mils.
So in 14, that the request to the voters was 0.5, you know, and that was, you know, the capacity. And due to Headley, you know, for 18, we don't have 19s, you know, we will, but we don't have it calculated out yet. It was at 0.4870, so it'll be a smaller number than that. So there, that's already naturally based on the economic model that's in the Constitution. I mean,
You know, and I'm not questioning that they need the money for maintenance and everything. I was just questioning, I'm looking, I remember years prior that we were bringing it down every year, and
Yeah,
that's
that
why I was
wasn't-
just questioning why it
So
wasn't
this
done
is
this
kind
year.
of like, this is the level that we
Oh, that's, yeah,
foresee.
well, that's
If
the answer I
things
wanted.
change either way, they would have a, you know, we'd take it into consideration in the
Okay.
future.
Yeah, if they
but
had
in
a new
turn-
service that like brought in a whole lot more, yeah, that would help put some relief on the general fund, but, or
Okay.
other economic conditions changed or.
Yeah, that's the only reason I was asking, because nothing was, it didn't go down this year,
Nope.
but the prior years. So
Yeah,
just
I mean, when we were
wondering-
first looking at that, our number was like, oh man, I wish it could be a little bit higher than 0.5, but couldn't.
They could not
Okay.
ask for more.
Goes back to every neighbor buying and selling their house with each other and raising the property
I know.
values.
It has increased though, our values.
They do, but then again, it's the Headley
Yeah, it's capped.
factor, which
Headley's
keeps
right.
rolling
It's
back
right.
the mills in relationships to the forward gain.
Right.
Right, because I think it was even the first to second, or maybe you mentioned that, I noticed
Mhm.
how much we got, and I was like, oh, we got more the first year than the second year. It dropped, you know,
But
so,
it's
yeah,
a backward
it's,
slide.
yeah.
With the current millage rates as they are today, what they were in 2015, 0.15, we were talking 0.65 with them in an ideal number for parks, right? It would generate another $332,069 right now, so back then, it would have been just about $300,000 right there. That we'd have got off that, so that's what we did, and so
they would
we
have been
backed it
totally
off
independent.
since. And like I said, it's kind of inched up a little bit, and like I said, she's done a great job, managing her money there, and again, so we got, plus you have a fund balance, and that's, like I said, they don't need to depend on the general fund for the
Yeah,
additional
well,
money.
there's no question Allison does a great job, and I understand she's trying to do catch-up work that
Oh,
has been neglected
right.
for so long, you know, that's very understandable. I commend her for doing
That's kind of my
the job that
first,
she's doing.
my first point though, millage one brings in 1 million, and right now the general fund is positive 9,000. Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
And the board at the time didn't want to scare the public and say, we're gonna eradicate it or diminish it or anything like that, because people don't want to be scared and coerced, absolutely.
It's truth, though.
But-
Right, I mean, if we don't, if
Yeah.
this is up for renewal, and we don't get a renewal
Yeah.
for our operating millage, yeah, absolutely, their Parks Department would be, you know, drastically suffering, you know, so, right, because it takes away a good chunk of our operating.
What's it bring in, like just shy of 500 grand a year?
487,
No,
so
it's
it'd be
like 900.
900 each year?
For 70 years.
Oh, it's right here.
Is it like
Right
9?
up at the top.
It's a
never mind.
million.
Oh, a million,
One
okay.
point.
$1,075,000.
Okay then.
So Headley's always gonna, well, I shouldn't say always, hopefully someone has the courage to reform it, but it's just an economic reality. Haven't heard that person. But, I'm always hopeful that they'll appear, but.
So this is good, and I love my Parks and Rec, and she does a great job as far as priority overall. I mean, this is something for us to think about later, but in my book, I think IT might be up here.
Well, you're right, we
You know, you
need
have
to
to
sit down and
set-
talk about this
You have to
after
set
everything's done.
priorities, right? But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I agree with you,
Comes down to
Kevin.
choice.
We have to look at the
The whole
big picture.
picture, and this is outstanding, and I wanna keep the Parks and Recs, don't get me wrong. And there's probably other areas that we might could cut back before we did the Parks and Rec. But you do have to overall set priorities as to what's the most important from there.
That's what we'll do in our recap.
Yep, yep.
So page 52 starts the, on the expense side for Parks and Rec. And we have the pension item that I mentioned, the trust contribution. Just scanning, looking for large changes and stuff. There's a contingency. Allison, your group would be mostly in the Teamsters group. And so basically that issue, that contract is not settled for 2020. So that's some money set aside for a modest increase there as well. That's why the number was changed there, just try a little bit of pre-planning. Just looking for other big changes on the next page. When Allison gets to her presentation, she'll speak to the capital projects and the choices and work that's been done there. I think we mentioned earlier too, that very last expense item, that 45,000, that is much like the fire department and the general fund, that is pre-funding or setting aside some funds for like a large capital item that might come up. And so we have a pivot point. So when you look over at the audit, at the 330 fund, you'll see the Parks and Rec group is covered in there too, making contributions, just setting aside for future use. Maybe I should wait to the end to say this, but I'll put in another plug here too for giving the board a few conundrums. I guess I got another one for you, is the building over there on Williams Lake Road. I mean, we haven't had a full-blown engineering facility audit, but I can't imagine finding anybody, any initials after their name that wouldn't say that's your one that's in the most need of some help and you're struggling.
And then it's
You know.
cost benefit, whatever you put in, is it going to
We
be
didn't
a
have a
big?
study, I thought we had a study done when we went out for.
So I had a construction cost analysis, which doesn't delve into like how deep the foundation problems
okay.
are and things like that. It said, I mean,
That was to take
Okay.
care
All
of
that.
things above grade.
So he basically went through the whole facility and said, okay, based on like square footage and size of the building, and you need to do these things to improve or bring up to ADA standards and make it safe, it would cost 11 million if you shut the building down for a year, and it would cost 12 point something million if you did it in phases.
Phases and just had parts of the building shut down.
Because I mean, honestly, I mean, it's not, and I'm not here to do like a pity party for us, you guys have all been in that building, you know what it is, but I constantly, or even this year, it's like more money and more money, even just out of my contractual repair and maintenance account number. I mean, it's just everything in that building is so old and leaks in the roof and, you know, it's just endless, you know what I mean? The things that need to be done, you know. We did start this year an energy study with a contractual company that Hugo arranged. I think they were doing some sort of energy studies for other facilities too. So I'm now involved in that, so I have a good picture of that. We worked with Hugo and MMRMA and had the infrared scanning done on the electrical panels in the building. But you know, there's just concerning issues about even the structural stability of that building and the foundation and the cracks that are in it. And you know, I mean, honestly, how much longer can we sustain there in a safe manner for, you know, the hundreds of seniors and hundreds of community members that utilize that building on a daily basis, you know, so. And then, you know, so it's a lot of money I'm putting into it just to maintain, I mean, the money I put into it, nobody really even notices like what I do with it, you know, it's just
Yeah,
like
you
baseline.
did
Well, even just
You know,
any mechanical system,
and
it's
anything-
just not, physical
And the money that you are putting into it, we're not getting really a bang for our buck. because-
No.
No.
Well, no, it's just, they said,
It's
you're
maintenance.
you're
It's-
putting a Band-Aid on something
it's
that
a
needs
Band-Aid.
open heart surgery, it just
Yeah,
does.
absolutely.
And that 12,000, or 12.8 million to do it, that wasn't getting the building up to modern, ADA standards, but that just, it didn't fix anything, it's still the same foundation. But right now, the building we got now, windows don't work, the air conditioning doesn't work. You've got the coffee pot on, the light switch, you blow a fuse, I mean, that stuff is all still there.
And a lot of it the problems coupled with the age of the building, it's not something I can just send my maintenance guys in here, tear off this wall and make this room bigger. There's asbestos, there's lead paint, all that needs to be handled in a safe manner before we can just go in and do anything. So a lot of these things that need to be done, that's like Todd or Shane could do at another building,
They
can't do because we have to get the testing, like windows. I mean, you want new windows, but now I gotta get lead paint testing, have it abated.
And that eradication and abatement is very, very expensive.
So it
it's all
all,
gotta be contained.
it's like a snowball effect where a project, it's like, oh, just get a new windows, and it'll help the energy costs. It's like, no, there's like 10 things that have to be done with dollar signs associated with them.
Just
So it's like,
hemorrhaging money away.
it literally is, and it's like you want a place
Yeah,
for
I got a
programs.
question and maybe
That's
I
the
can
whole
answer it
thing.
too.
No,
Is there other communities that we can partner up with to shut that place down? And the reason I'm asking that now, it's just
That's a
two-part
large,
question.
relatively large facility.
It's a two-part question, then could we ever float some bonds to build a new one?
Well, that was the proposal that went to the voters.
Do you have to put it on the ballot?
Yeah,
We-
that's-
Put it down.
For that
Voted on
large-
to build a new community center.
Otherwise, the
Well,
general.
no, the SAD or the,
So then how would you, her revenue has to cover the payment, basically becomes it. So you can do the bond, but the Parks and Rec revenue would have to pay the bond payment,
You have
so.
to, you have to pledge revenues.
so we have to give them more money to pay the bonds.
No,
basically.
well, she'd have to
We
figure
transfer
out,
from
yeah,
one
it's not coming out.
thing to that.
Bond is
I just
getting
a
a loan.
question, I'm just throwing out there, I don't,
so we do work with like Waterford Senior Center for some things. We do partner some of our trips with like Independence Township Parks and Recreation. A lot of those, they don't have the facilities that we have. A lot of people from other communities come to us because we have a
Because we have the-
gymnasium.
yeah.
We get people from Independence and West Bloomfield and other communities that come to Waterford, to our rec center, to use indoor pickleball because there's not immediate places here that have indoor pickleball. And likewise, in the summer, they go out to Clarkston to play outdoor pickleball. So it's kind of like a fluid,
It
trade.
seems like we're just fighting a no-win battle with this community center, it's just, you're
That's
taking
correct.
money away
That's
from
something.
other projects that you could be doing in
Oh,
the
absolutely.
community.
Every time I
Like you
have to
say-
spend
like you say,
money
nobody
there,
sees- Nobody sees what you're doing, Allison.
No, they
You
don't.
know.
They don't.
But they use the place, so it's not really a
Right, no,
no-win situation.
No, it's keeping it, I mean, if you're there every day like I do, you see everybody, they enjoy
People-
going there,
Oh,
they
yeah.
have a
Miss it
great
if it's not
time,
there.
Oh,
it's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
But again,
So-
many things, the topic right here is this is a large concern for the future.
Right.
We can't solve it this year,
Yeah,
last year, everything was
Well,
done
that's what I was
possible to
asking
do
you.
that.
It can't be
But-
solved within the context of the 2020 budget.
Right.
No,
It would be,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
I
It just-
understand, yeah, I understand.
revenue
So you're saying
source.
move on.
No, I mean, I just wanted to bring it up because
Okay.
it doesn't have to do with her stewardship or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know.
But it is that
I-
looming cloud over us that's like, every time we have to do, and it's nothing ever cheap, you know what I mean? A hot water heater needs to be replaced, but it's like ancient and there's 15 other things that you have to do to put it in.
It can't-
Unlike one in a modern building where you can just pop one out and pop one in,
We're attempting at $45,000, that's our
Yes,
contribution.
we are, on
In the
that.
2020
I'll
budget.
let you just
And,
end
and,
that one
and,
out.
and,
Stretch
and
it
the
for a
fund is
while.
now $180,000.
Present value.
Plus 183, because we earned interest, but, that's not gonna solve it.
And we've tried to be creative with like our other facilities because we get issues where we have leaks or we have not enough programmable space in the rec center. We've started to more utilize off-site facilities like the community building at Hess Hathaway if we don't have rentals, the warming house over here on the property for a small fitness class or art class, but that makes it hard staff-wise too to facilitate programs when you're not all in the same location. So we do try to make it work.
Let me
It's
ask you one more
just
question, we can move on. How much did you spend last year maintaining?
that building, maintaining it is
Just
like
throwing money
just
into
over
it.
20, $20,000, I believe, and that's like contractual repair and maintenance services, I believe. And then, there were some capital, projects we did over there, painting and things like
Yeah.
that, you know, that wouldn't have been included in that 20, so.
That's kind of
Maintenance
Yeah,
kind of
maintenance.
stuff, so, but it tends to increase, you know, we have 3 ovens over there that are very old and we use them for spaghetti dinners and apple pies.
Apple pies.
And we're approaching the not state of no repair to them because they're so old. Those are gonna be big ticket items when they go, they're gonna have to be replaced, so, you know, just, there's many things, but, you know, those are just some examples. And we love the building, we love having the, you know, community members be able to participate in those amazing programs. We don't wanna see it go away, but, you know, we
Unless
really
we
have
have
to
a
be
replacement.
cognizant of, you know, the road we're headed down, because it's gonna be millions of dollars to be able to, you know, fix that place
What year
eventually.
was it built, Elsie? Oh,
In 1947 was the year it was built.
It's outlived its life.
Post-World War.
Get 'em on
Yeah,
board.
it's historical.
Yeah, it's outlived its life.
Post-World War II.
Have you been over there, Mark?
I have, yeah.
I took a tour of it just recently, and it's, it needs some help. It really needs some help. Even when I go to youth assistant meetings,
Oh, wow.
you can see where it's leaked through the ceiling and everything, down on the
We'll be
wall.
meeting there in a couple of weeks, be careful, talk nice.
Cool.
And we have amazing
That's
staff
where
that
the-
take care of
that's
it
not the
very
way it works.
well,
These things
clean
are
it and
winning.
everything, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just
But
so
like
much.
the reality is,
Yeah.
is that is an older building that needs a lot of repair and maintenance. and
Does
updating.
Oakland County Parks have anything?
Facility wise? No, they have
They have
a,
parks, they don't have programs.
yeah, they don't offer a lot of programming, and they have a facility over off Watkins Lake Road that they've drastically reduced in size, because I believe they have some sort of substation in there now from the sheriff's department. It used to be like a banquet facility. And we utilize
By the water.
that building sometimes, and we have had dances there, and we do therapeutic recreation stuff in the past with them
That's
at
the
that
old building
location.
too, is that the one that's pretty old, so?
It's an older
older
building, yeah, it's probably
building. It's
20
hard-
years old, maybe.
Oh, I think
That's
it's
the
older
Waterford
than
Oaks
that.
one?
The Waterford Oaks, the Watkins, there's one on Watkins Lake Road by
Where
their
the daddy
offices
daughter
there.
dance used to be.
Yeah, daddy
I
daughter
think that's
dances
where I
used to
have
be.
a pole there, yeah.
Mhm. So, I mean, they don't have facilities,
Really?
that's why I
They
think
don't
our.
have a gym there.
No.
Waterford.
And the concern is with the schools, they have a lot of gymnasium space, but they program a lot of gymnasium space, and we're always the low man on the totem pole as far as
There's a
if,
precinct, it's called Waterford Oaks, but I'm not sure.
that would be it, it's called, yeah.
But it's meant to be like an older building to me. It has like a big hall in the middle.
Yeah, it's like kind of peaked, like the
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
beams,
look,
the
it looks
wood
older than
beams.
20, but.
Yeah, and maybe it is, it might be.
Yeah, I don't think that's the.
No, you're right, because it's been around since I've worked here, and that's 18 years, so it's long before that, so. Yeah, I mean, that's the appeal of the building we do have, is because there are other places like Clarkston and
The gym
Clintonwood, they have a
cemetery
really
building.
cute little senior building,
They do.
but they don't have
The gym.
the gym space to do
Right.
the athletic programs and the, you know, it's more or less a couple big areas. We have little rooms, we can have a Tai Chi class upstairs and a card game here and dominoes here and pickleball in the gym, like multi-use programmable space, you know, and same thing White Lake, our neighbor, they have the Dublin Senior Center,
That's what
but
the
it's
community
not,
center's supposed to be.
it's not,
multi-use.
right,
It's
you know,
very
it's
tiny.
just not, it's not what we have, so there, even though it's an oldie, it's a goodie, right? Because it's, everyone likes the amenities that we have, so.
What was the estimated cost for a new building again?
25 million?
Well, we had asked for 30 million, and that was all like the site, you know, leveling, and we have to move. So we asked for 30, and I
30
think
was
that
what-
was
that
with
was
some
what the-
contingency and stuff in there,
Yeah.
so. Mhm.
I know it's probably down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, we did have to go on a ballot right after like the largest tax increase the township's seen, you know, so it was
the
really
same time
like
as the
that
SAT was-
timing for us if we were gonna ask for money for something, you know, like they just saw a huge tax increase. I'm not very just, you know, the police and fire need the money, right, when you talk about priorities. But it was just really, for us, put us in a position where it was like, yeah, you know, if they're angry about more taxes, those people generally are not gonna
Yeah,
turn
but
around and
yeah.
go, let me give you the money, Parks and Rec, you know? It
But
was
that's
just
what,
a hard.
that's what many of the millage, you know, any
Yeah.
idea that needs a revenue source, if it becomes a millage, it's timing.
Yeah, it is
kind of
timing.
like,
It
you know,
is.
and then sometimes there's just sentiment, particular election
Oh,
is
yeah.
particularly controversial.
Had it
Outside of
passed,
the-
had it passed, it would have been a bond issue, I presume,
Yes.
supported by the millage.
Yes.
Yes,
Correct.
it would have, yeah.
That's called the unlimited tax obligation. So,
Obligation, you bet.
so what Barb and I would do every year would be to collect, or to calculate the principal and interest, agent fees, all that kind of stuff, set the rate to cover that. And then it just goes to the end of the, usually 20-year
20-year
issues
bonds.
typically.
Yeah.
And then it's over and then it comes off the.
Yeah, the sinking fund where there was some type of thing, so the principals go away.
Yes,
Over
that's
time.
exactly how it worked on the
Yeah.
police and fire headquarters buildings. It was gonna be structured similar.
And it was like 2 years before that, they approved $100 million bond for the school district. So I mean,
Yeah,
again,
it's,
and the schools say they have to be, and again, like I said, you don't have to have a community center, but it sure is nice for your community to have one, so.
Would be, yeah,
So I mean, there was- like I said, this was 30% of what that was, and it got shot down, but I'm just saying, it just, heaven forbid they would have returned the school bond down, simply
Well, I
because how are
think-
you gonna continue to fix the buildings? You know,
But the timing was bad too. You
Yes.
passed an SAD in August,
Right,
and then you're asking for one in November. You know, the timing was bad, it should have been vice
And there will
versa, I
never,
think.
yeah, be a good.
Parks and
No,
Rec should went
no,
on
police and
primary,
fire.
that would probably
Yeah.
for first responders will always
Oh,
uphold Parks and
absolutely.
Recreation, as long as I can talk to supervisor, that will.
Although it
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
very
right.
important
Yeah.
in
That has to.
communities
Well,
when, you know,
absolutely.
and our National Recreation Park Association constantly does park pulse studies nationally, you know, and surveys millennials, you know, up to seniors on why they move to communities and why they stay in communities. And there is always an overwhelming, you know, percentage of response that people move to communities and stay in communities that have vibrant parks and places for community events. So, you know, I know you guys probably all are already aware of this, I'm just preaching to the choir, but, you know, I just wanted to, you know, resonate that with you. I know priorities are priorities, but it is an important part of a community, and to retain and attract people to all these beautiful homes that are being built and all these, you know, vacant school
Absolutely.
properties. But you do have a highly functioning, appealing Parks and Rec system, parks and programs, because that's why a lot of reason people also move here. They don't always move to Waterford to live on a lake because not everyone can afford it. They move here because it's a beautiful
Different
community
reasons.
with lots of shopping and restaurants, and it's senior friendly, and there's wonderful parks and programs,
There's
so.
a reason people move in communities, public safety, you know, there's a lot of different things.
Right, that's
Parks and
obviously
Rec,
important.
community center, there's just a lot of things that bring people, looking at the lake or shopping, like you said.
I don't wanna take away from your time now. so
Oh, no, I-
It's,
It's just kind of what so you guys can kind of see, most of you make it to our events and, you know, see what we do all year round, but I just kind of like to put it in like a little snapshot for you, so. The year in review, it's just, I mean, it's just kind of a snapshot of all the things that we do, so it's, some of the more notable maybe projects that we worked on this year. The barn preservation project at Hess Hathaway is nearly completed and it looks beautiful, and the contractor we work with has been a joy to work with, so, I couldn't fit in all the pictures, but before it was extremely deteriorating. We, have a new sign out front, it's nearly completed, it's structurally stable, the wood has all been replaced, and it just looks wonderful, and, you know, wonderful, to be able to preserve that piece of history for the community as well.
I think, one question, on the gazebo, where we, is that gonna be done yet?
Everything's done except the ramp, the ADA ramp, and that should be going in within the next week.
I got a call on it yesterday, they said it was being done, but I
Yep.
wasn't sure where it was at.
Yeah, we had to do a little bit of, modifying for that ramp to work the way we
Okay,
wanted it,
perfect.
and so, yeah, the carpenter should be out there, well, I say this week, the rain, I don't know. They work in everything, I guess, but, the ball field improvements at Harrington, it was really hard to show this on the pictures, but if you look at that lower left-hand photo, you can kind of see where you come off the infield and it drops off. There was a lip there, about a 2-foot lip, so, which is a safety hazard. So we had the fields laser leveled and graded, new top dressing put on, and that's the same type of project we plan to have done at Rotary. So each year I'd like to tackle parks, you know, doing this to the fields, because it's really important to this, safety. It also makes it look nice, but the safety is the more important thing of these fields, to have this stuff done on them. We all are familiar with the warming house parking lot project that got done very quickly. So
Go utility.
that's, you know, everything has been, that picture that was taken before the seed took, but, the hump was removed, you know, impeding people to get down to the warming house. The parking lot right up next to the building was, modified and enlarged, making it a little bit, more convenient for those people that rent it. Aside from Hathaway Park, this is one of the facilities that gets used the most. Oftentimes, we have rentals every Saturday and Sunday throughout the spring and into fall, for grad parties, birthday parties, showers, that sort of a thing.
Virginia probably wouldn't agree.
Yeah.
Allison is a first responder in case anybody.
Yeah. Yes, just so you know, if it helps my funding at all, I did save someone from the pond, so I got,
And she's
I could be.
off the snapping
A
turtle.
volunteer.
I'm CPR, AED, first aid trained. I do, you know, we can.
And muck waiter.
Yeah, right. I can wear a uniform if I need to. No, I'm just kidding. No, there was a woman who drove right after we finished the parking lot. She didn't hit the brakes and went over the parking blocks into the pond. So she was okay. The vehicle was not
First on the
okay.
scene.
So I was there. The thought of the turtles in the pond did frighten me.
Okay, how
but it
big of a
helped.
budget increase are you
Right.
asking for?
So, you know, just keep that in mind. You know, we're out there saving lives, enriching lives, you know, those types of things. I should have added that as like, I had a picture
The
of,
first.
I should have had a
page.
picture of me
But
pulling
you
her, right?
I know people took pictures, you know, where are they?
I don't know, when I'm not saving lives, I'm running the Parks Department, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
You're
kidding.
like Superwoman.
You know, hey, you know. Yes.
Allison.
Whatever I have to do, you know. So the gazebo project,
There she goes.
just some pictures of that, it's not quite completed, all the concrete
Okay,
stuff.
what meeting
is-
No, they, there's a historic part of it. This, they use this to work, they do a lot of work at it. They bring groups in and do all kinds of stuff. I think they were doing stuff during the harvest happening.
Yeah, so that's the historic house, and we were able, some of our amazing volunteers that we have.
They did the windows, I mean, Steve did
Yes.
the windows, they did the windows with the weights. He
Mhm.
went in and redid all the rope, everything. That's like,
This was the office, the blue room at the Hathaway, the farmhouse. This is the historic farmhouse. Parts of it are older than others. We do the historic farmhouse tours. These back areas are like a display room with the cabinet there, which is like donated by Chala Yoga to us, the display cabinet. But we have historic items and items significant to the Hess family. The other room is like the sunroom with the staff offices there for the farmers. But we were able to do all that stuff in-house and with volunteer work. So it's just one of those things where it's like things.
started with a Boy Scout Eagle
Yeah.
project doing the bathroom.
He did,
Ripped
he
out the entire floor, went right down to the joists and built the bathroom back up, and then they just continued the floor. And then she got other scouts to
Mhm.
do all the things for the animals, the
Mhm.
goat thing that's in here.
Mhm.
Somewhere,
It's right here.
all this stuff was all put in,
Mhm.
built with an Eagle project. This shed was built with an Eagle project.
Mhm.
It's
Lots of
amazing.
stuff, yeah, I mean, we really do rely, like I
Yeah.
mentioned at the board meeting the other night, we do a lot, I mean, we have 13 staff, may seem like a lot, but when you're talking about 850 acres of parks that, you know, servicing a community of 73,000, we couldn't do what we do, even project-wise, without volunteers, right? So we use a lot of volunteers. The project, the painting, that didn't cost much, just so you know, that rec center painting, it was kind of lipsticking pig, so to speak. But it was a winter project, it was that freezing, frigid, cold week where it was, we did close because the building couldn't keep up with the operations, the heating operations. So we were able to get some paint up, and then we did do like a graphic from Eagle Graphics. We did a graphic wall, just a vinyl decal, and a couple other logo decals, just to kind of like brand it. The volunteer project collaborations, I've talked about some of them at, you know, board reports. The Christ Lutheran Church always does their community impact day, and we do some projects in the parks. Below, the guys in yellow, Steve McCready is one of our volunteers at Hathaway Park. He's actually honored at the State Parks and Recreation Association as one of the volunteers of the year. He helps, without him, we wouldn't be able to do our own hay harvesting. He did the painting, he does so much for us. We have our Adopt a Park program, which the PD and the Dispatcher Association and the Kiwanis Club is involved with. Jessica Ventures, Adopted Fish Hatchery Park, and has done some work on the children's play areas. We've worked with the Waterford chapter of Special Olympics and our senior volleyball athletes participate in games and play with them. We do host, I don't know if you all are aware, we are the home cross-country course for the high schools and the middle schools here in Waterford at Hess Hathaway Park. We actually worked with OCC this year and hosted our first collegiate cross-country meet at Hess Hathaway, which is, like notch in our, but it went well. It went well, yeah. It was kind of a dreary day,
It was
but
a
it
weird
was.
day, but they ran early.
They did, it went
Which
well.
helped.
So they had 100 men and 90 or 80 females running. So it was actually an invitational. So we had runners from all over the
Alpena,
community colleges, all
Grand
over the
Rapids,
state. It was
all the
amazing.
community colleges.
Yeah, so that's just a wonderful, things like that are wonderful. I worked with Adam Stevens to do the new little free libraries. We purchased the materials for the posts, installed the posts, mounted the libraries on top for him, and coordinating with him, which is really a cool project. And then as Art mentioned, we've got some of the Eagle Scout projects that they've done at Hess Hathaway that are of no cost to us. We just kind of have an ongoing list of things we like to see at parks. And when the scouts approach us, we kind of give them, here you go, pick one of these. And then sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others, but we're patient people and we wait for you to get the project done. So Special Needs Social Club, which saw its birth in 2018, Sarah Frederick, has continued to be a great program. We're growing, and we've reached out to Kingsley Montgomery, and they do a special resource meeting for parents of special ed children, so we've marketed to them. It's really a free program. We get sponsorships from different groups, the Bait Shop, the Golden Age Club, the VFW. They all support the funding so we can provide snacks for the kids, and we go out and do usually things that are like low cost or no cost for them, but they have a great time.
Will that keep going without Sarah?
Yes, Joe, you see, Joe is right there in the big
I was
wagon.
wondering if that's
Joe, so our new staff member, Joe, he's
I see.
local
Okay.
here from Waterford. He's taken over for Sarah, so that was actually his first time working with that group
Okay.
that night on the
Oh,
hayride.
nice, okay.
And
Oh, okay.
he organized the pumpkin painting for them earlier this month. They're gonna bake apple pies next month. So it'll be great. He's doing a great job and enjoys working with that group. So special events, just many of them there. We had a unicorn party because we not only save lives and make life fun, but we have magical unicorns at our facilities too. So
These are very important things.
yeah, right? I mean, it's great. So, and then, Big Wheels is always a hit. We have so many different businesses that actually come out on like beautiful Saturday most of the day and take time when they could be working at construction sites or working at their businesses just to be able to participate in that event for families, which is great. Pirate Party, Trunk or Treat, we always participate in the parade. Daddy, daughter, mother, son dances are always huge. And then of course we always have the senior luncheons like once a month that are themed and a lot of fun. And then just the last page is one I just submitted on the board report, but all the pictures from Harvest Happening from this year. 33 years that we've offered this community event, and this year, one of the largest turnouts. A lot of that is weather related, obviously. You get a perfect fall day, everyone wants to get outside, so.
That little guy hugging the goat, that's the best picture.
Yeah, isn't it cute?
And the goal was just letting him do it.
Yeah, they took them out. Those two goats are the two, we got them this year. They're Tater and Tot. And they were just a year when we got them, but they were raised on a farm with like little kids.
Oh.
So
They took them
they're
around.
just
They were
like,
the hottest
I
thing.
never thought I wanted
Yeah.
a farm animal until I went
They
and
were-
like met those
there
two
was
new
15
goats.
and
They're like
30
dogs. I mean,
There were
friendly like that. They
ponies.
follow
There was all
you,
kinds of
they
stuff.
want you to pet
Everyone to the
them.
goats.
They're so friendly. So they're just amazing, yeah.
Everyone.
Fainting goats.
Yeah.
I tried to make him faint every time.
It becomes a Kodak moment.
And then the budget memo is just what the items Derek covered, the two ball field improvements and the fiber line, which would be internet, IT, network connectivity to the rec center. Not only is the building old, but basically sitting there to try to use the computer, is like painful. I mean, it's painfully slow and oftentimes unoperational. We've tried to do what we can in-house. IT spent an exorbitant amount of time over there trying to remedy the situation. This will alleviate a lot of their workload, because that's not the only reason to do it. It makes it much more efficient and effective. The fiber network connectivity, we looked at budget for 19 and looked like we'll be able to fund it from this year's budget rather than having to do 2020. So that would come off, and then the plan would still be to do the ball field improvements like we did in Harrington. You had pictures of that at Rotary. And then the third document is just a running document that I do. I've started since I took charge of the department in 2015, so you can see a lot of the projects that we've completed. It's obviously not everything, but the yellow items are the ones that have been completed, and the month and date, the month and year. The white items are still looming items. Green are kind of like the higher priority things I wanted to tackle like next year. So you can kind of see the forecast and the history for those types of items.
Good job, Alice.
You bet.
Excellent.
Really good job.
Thanks.
Very good.
Did you tell?
Did you always give me, like, you give me, I never have enough time, right? No, I'm sorry.
Did you tell anybody that Harvest Happening was mentioned, like, along with Zubu?
Oh, that's right. So,
Stuff like that on TV.
Funtober, actually.
Oh, Funtober was,
So
that's
we
right.
were featured on Channel 7. So Funtober is like 2 weekends after Harvest Happening. So we tried one year to like, what do we do with these extra things we have left over from Harvest Happening to make money? So we kind of were resourceful and offer another event 2 weeks later where you can get pumpkins, hay rides, all that sort of a thing. So Keenan Smith, who's a newscaster with Channel 7, does his like Keenan's Top 7. And so he contacted us and wanted to feature Funtober as one of his top 7 fall Halloween events. And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So Tori worked with him. And then when I saw it actually air, I'm like, oh my God, how did, like, you think like, I mean, we know we do a great job, but on the things we were paired with, it was like Rochester Hills Stonewall Pumpkin Festival, which is amazing. Detroit Zoo, their Halloween thing, the Tilson's Chair on Tilson Street. I mean, there were like some pretty like high level profile Halloween events, and I was like, this is amazing.
So
Well, we are, but it's you know,
That was cool.
you know, that was awesome to be featured. We don't often get that type of recognition on a Metro Detroit level, you know, so it was wonderful to get that, yeah. Thanks, Art, for reminding me.
This
Pleasure.
aired, I missed it. This aired on TV, did you see?
It did, I could probably send you the link so you can see it. Yeah, it was on one morning, like Channel 7 morning news, so,
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty cool, so. And, you know, we've welcomed Joe as our new staff member, and he's done a great job, you know, as a rec supervisor. And, you know, I think in the future we might have some turnover. You know, there's some staff that are probably nearing retirement age and things like that, so, you know, we might see that. So there's always things where it causes you to like get a little setback. When he left, there was a couple months, it was like, when Sarah left, there was a couple months where, you know, you're kind of doing double duty. So maybe some of the projects I had planned to complete this year kind of went on the back burner when it's like trying to facilitate programming and things like that, where you're actually touching the people.
Yeah.
You know, you had to kind of,
prioritize.
right, prioritize, you know, it was like
Program
getting the
after
soccer
grant.
program running and versus, you know, maybe this construction project starting over here. So, you know, things this year, I feel like a little bit, like 2 months of my time were kind of lost as far as maybe some of the projects I had planned to do this year. Things fell a little bit behind, but it happens and we'll catch up and we'll, you know, make up for it next year, so.
All good news.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're right, I know, right?
Is that why they
We're saving
put you
another
last?
life. I know.
Save another life.
Is that why they put you last, so you can get out there?
Right, that one. Okay, well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Allison.
have a nice evening.
That was, I thought they'd say the best for that.
It was.
I wasn't gonna say that, but, you know, I just like, I didn't wanna sound
Always
cocky.
in
I'm
on
just
a
kidding,
positive note, yes.
All right.
Allison,
Thanks.
I'm after you.
Oh, Gary's after me. Save the best.
Oh, okay.
I just
Bye.
can't interject. Hey,
Bring us
has
right
everybody
there.
met Joe?
No,
Bring Joe down.
Want me to bring him?
Yeah, bring him down.
Bring him on down.
Yeah, this is a perfect time. Everybody's
Oh,
here.
yeah.
We gonna go on break, Joe?
well, not if Joe's coming down, otherwise we'll all get up and leave. We'll see us.
There's a very good point.
So we'll wait for 2 seconds.
If he's not here, he's lost his opportunity.
Everybody, this is
Hey,
Joe.
Joe.
I'm Joe. Joe.
Yeah, I met you too.
Yeah.
I saw him when I went to pick up my pies.
Joe's from Waterford, he grew up here and graduated from Academy.
Joe, Art
So
Fresca,
he's very
nice to meet
familiar
you.
with the community and participated in a lot of our programs when he was young.
I've
What,
done
Oh,
what's
awesome.
the only two things that you didn't participate?
Good to see you, Joe.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Joe told me he grew up in Waterbury. He said, where'd you grow up? I says, I never did grow up, because I figured if I grew up, I wanted to be a kid again, so, but I've been here all my life.
So Joe will be doing like our athletic programs, the special needs social club, like a youth adult athletics, field rentals, and he's like our liaison with the travel sports organization, so like the Waterford Warriors,
I'll jog the
Corsairs.
cross-country course with you at Southway. I won't run it, I'll
Yes, he's
jog
a
it.
running.
Good job.
I'll
At
snowshoe.
best, I would walk. At best.
We can send the wagon.
Maybe at a
wagon
best.
take you out if we need to.
Johnny compressed disc in your back, so you don't wanna do that.
And what sports did you participate in?
In high school, so I did basketball, wrestling, swimming, track, and soccer. I ran track in college, so.
Where'd you go to college?
Eastern Michigan,
Eastern.
then I got my master's at Wayne State.
Wayne State.
Yes.
Good. Good.
You might not want to run with him then if you.
No, I'm thinking twice. How about we walk?
He'll lap us.
Hey, Art, we could drive along and tell him how fast he's going.
I sit in the cart.
It's a 23, Joe, you better slow down, the police are up ahead here.
I'm riding a mountain bike.
That was nice meeting you.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Wow.
Now it's a short break.
Should we do a short break?
Do a short break.
Short break.
Do a short break.
How short?
10 minutes?
Okay,
Sounds good.
sounds good.
Modest break, but
Okay. Yeah, but are we gonna,
We have a lot to do and we want to get it done, right?
Yeah.
okay, 7 minutes.
No.
6.
And
You can name that too. Fuck.
They put a booster heater for the dishwasher rec center in September 2015 for $3,000. 2 years later, they replaced the dishwasher.
Now, they do what they're told. What's recommended. They do a ton of stuff on the mill.
For $3,000, well, 4,000, 3,800.
Now, to redo the windows at the farmhouse probably would have been 10,000 basically, to do what this guy
Well,
did over
this
about
was a
5
rec
months.
center, but, yeah.
No, I know, and the rec center is one of those, it's a tough nut. It'd be great to just stumble upon, well, 10 million bucks or something, but,
Bundle of money?
yeah, find it in some fashion anyway. Oh, okay.
Well, if I'm gonna go potty, I better go.
I'm sorry? Yeah, that's what I think everybody's
Yeah.
doing. Showtime.
Okay, so we have put forward our best effort to, I guess, provide you an overview and a framework of where Waterford Township is headed for 2020, what we've included in the budget, what has not been recommended to be included, or yet to be determined. I harken back again to the first page. I mean, that's really the economic reality of our financial position for 2020. This is, and Barb and I mean, this is one thing we talked about the other day too. I guess our premise on this is, there is a legal mandate, but our premise is that the board has the desire to have a balanced budget. So that's how we start this. If that's, if the desire is to dip into fund balance to make more things possible, that's a different philosophical approach than we supervisor or the three of us are put into this at this point. So this is really, it's really your time. We can go through other parts of the budget. We can try to answer questions. We have opinions and thoughts that if you want us to share any more than we already have, we can. Mark's here on the HR side. He's only been with us a short time, but he's a lot of great experience when it comes to people and contracts and
I haven't done the math, but I know you guys have, what's total revenue based on projections? And total expenses based on, I can see what the bottom number is. You have to add up each one of them, right? Okay, forget it.
I always did fun.
I can do that. We're good.
I think I saw something the other day, if you just, it's a little out of context to do it like this, but if you just like in the budget module, if you put in just like revenue and hit enter, and got them from all the different funds, water and sewer and parks and stuff.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the 90s.
Okay, so some 90 mil.
General fund, $62,292,805.
We have a lot of small funds that
A lot of
would
little
be
wrap-ups
considered to
stuff.
be part of the fund, you know,
Right.
like your, technically your lake improvement boards are
Right, it's a
within
revenue, yeah.
an expense that are under our responsibility.
That's one I.
And you have a lot of those and some other funds that we don't really get into, like the motor pool.
Right, yes. So I did
The
add all
general
that.
fund balance, because that's a culmination of all of
The
the
general,
fund balance that's, right?
it's, which, the general
So
fund.
here, so you're saying that we're 37.5 for unassigned fund balance, and we're supposed to be, what, a good point is 25 to 35?
That's reasonable, that's pretty good.
Is that percentage a culmination, like of the fire
That
No.
one,
and
no.
police?
No.
The
No,
one,
so that's
so
just
the
a.
general fund
Basically
is
stuff in this building.
building,
Pretty
yes.
much.
But the fund, the unassigned fund balance that
Yeah.
we're supposed to have, is that just
So
general
then-
fund in this, or is that a culmination of all?
No,
of the
it's
pieces?
just the general fund expenses in relation, for those departments, in relationship to that balance. And then the fire department has this amount of fund balance.
Right, I get that. So
And
this
in
is
relation,
separate.
yeah,
This
in
is
relationship to these expenses, that's the fund
this.
balance.
Okay,
And
and so
then
it's not
police-
factored in these.
I get
No,
Alright, I get
and
that.
police,
That's- I
and
get that.
then I think this was the total, this
Right.
was like the combined.
I got you,
So
so
we-
this is completely.
If we
separate.
had money to play with, it would be the top middle number.
Yes, and that's what I was getting at.
Well, yes and no, but.
Quote unquote.
That one has a little bit of an amber alert on it too, though.
Understood.
So, and that's another discussion. I mean, yeah, we can move, we can transfer things around and move them a little bit. But, what's the desire to see fire's fund balance go up versus trying to address other priorities?
Exactly.
It's
Or-
a discussion point.
Or if you're gonna fund fire's $400,000 request for
Sure.
overtime.
Sure.
That's not a one-time expense.
Nope.
They pulled out of their fund balance, they're
Yep.
down to 8.5% now.
Right,
You know what I'm
which
saying?
is
So-
a red flag. It's already a red
Well,
flag.
Right.
it's, you know,
It's a yellow flag.
it's a faded red flag, but it would be a brighter red flag. But again, like I said, there's just, let's say, going over the rig, we had in
Yeah.
preliminary budget meetings, and Derek and Barb went back, went over these, and we met again and went over the numbers and stuff, and just, everybody needs something. They do, and you look at it, and went down the list, and you try to prioritize, say, well, they could do with this or do without that, but I mean, it just, I remember looking at the fire requests. The fire requests alone were $1,523,570. That's everything. That's including the SAD stuff, but that's everything across the board. What they were gonna get, $790,000, they want another $732 on top of that. And then if you look at everything else that was in the budget, where was that number at? Everything in all these sheets here, it's, you know, general fund, parks and rec, library, everything, you're $2,042,078, and that's, you know, that's, fire's request of that is, you know, 35.89%.
Yeah,
That's
big chunk.
one department.
Yep.
And that's not picking on fire, again, they're first responders, they're very important, but again, like I said, I won't see, I won't put anybody else on the bus. I worked very, very hard on trying to convince the people who I talked to about the SAD, how much it was necessitated. We have worn out fire equipment, we do not have the funding to replace it at the rate it needs to be replaced now. It's old and it's kind of all wearing out at the same time, but it's necessity, we need a funding source to make this happen. And it's affordable, if somebody do it, it's gonna come at a cost, and it's gonna cost to all the taxpayers, but it's gonna come at a cost to the people that are going to benefit from it the most, the people that live in Waterford Township, the people that do business in Waterford Township. It's a tough sell, but then again, like I said, we get that, and 60% of that SAD is going to fire this year, 40% is going to police. It's a 60-40 speed. Last year it was 58, 42 it was, but this year it went to 60-40. And again, like I said, but it's not enough. We need more, we need more, we need more. And then as time goes on, they're gonna need more, and it just, where's the fund? Okay, but when you come to people to request, come with a funding source or funds to do it with. That's the tough part of it. And again, like I said, so we have, like I said, like Derek said, trying to add everything else, about $91 or $92 million of the enterprise fund and the general fund and parks and rec and the library, but that's a lot of money. But again, it's gotta work for an entire municipality. Everybody needs something, and you gotta spread it out, you know what I'm saying? And it just, again, like our first responders, yes, they're very, very important for the safety of our community. And Waterford Township is getting older, and like we talked earlier, the nursing home runs are going up and up and up. Now, is there some legislation we can look at where we can get, you know what I'm saying, the funding from them to pay for it? We get paid for the transports, we do. But again, that's just kind of like, it's a wash, it's not, it's a revenue source that kind of makes it neutral, but cost neutral at the same time. They're human beings, you gotta respond to them when they're in need. That's how it works. It's just, and those nursing homes, whether they're pilot or not, they do pay something into the millages to help support that, so the stuff is there to do it with. So it's kind of a double-edged sword at times. But what I say, when is it enough? I mean, it's just, we work real hard to make these numbers work as good as we can, and like I said, if we're behind, like Derek said before, we're behind the times as far as pay goes. There's other municipalities, but some of these municipalities are paying more. They're growing leaps and bounds right now. They got 250 new residential construction here. They've got commercial. That stuff's gonna come in all like capped, That was us back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's long since passed. So again, here we are. This is where we're at. These are the decisions we have to make on this. So we have to look this over, see what we think we should, and again, like I said, what we have to live with, and we don't want people to leave, but we can't make our thought, well, we don't give this person that, or that person that, or this department this, everybody's gonna leave, because you can't control that you just can't. You can do what you feel is in the best interest of the township to help everybody else some, and then go from there. That's where we're at.
Are there any other funds we have to look at before we try to?
I mean, that's the crux that we can wheel through here and see.
Just playing dumb, is there anything that jumps out at you?
Nothing too huge. We've talked about the transfers, the improvement revolving fund. Like there's the employee benefits that come out of 124.
That's
Stuff
where
like that.
actually, your retiree health insurance, it's a page within the budget.
Right, the motor pool.
It's pretty much determined by what health insurance costs are for
Do we
retirees.
have $1 million in this budget to contribute to that, the OPEB?
Well,
$2 million to this, okay.
yeah. So we're under a corrective action plan. We told the state of Michigan
That's good.
we're gonna put $1 million in. So we have it set right now to do $2 million. And, just,
That's for 19.
that's
No,
for
for
20.
20.
That's for, oh, okay,
That's
for 20.
This is
Okay.
for
20,
20.
I mean, 19,
Right.
we had committed to 2 million,
million.
and we did the 2 million.
It's, we
Okay.
held it.
So, and we have that opportunity to do it again, and we just feel that's very important.
And we had looked at that, again, we were transferring above all the tax collection and everything, we were transferring, it was made crystal clear during the SAD, we were transferring almost, it was $937,000 out of the general fund into, again, in addition to the police and fire, up and above all the other revenues, contracts, millages, everything, and just made it crystal clear that we could no longer transfer that money out of the general fund. We could not do it. We didn't have it to. We needed it elsewhere in the township. So that was part of the agreement right from the get-go. It was never a mystery, it was never hidden, it was not a backdoored or slid in behind us or whatever people want to call it. That freed that money up, but then we turned right around again, and $400,000 of that money wants to go back to fire for additional overtime. So 40% of that money's gone again. If we made a commitment to a corrective action plan, we as a township board, and 7 of us here, have made a commitment to a corrective action plan to pay this down, because the state said you gotta do it. Derek and Barb, and like I said, with Gabriel Roeder and Plant Moran, and we sat down in meetings and put all them numbers together and came up with a plan that'll work. But if the funding goes away, and $400,000 is a lot of money, but at the same time, if the fire department needs it like they said they do, then we gotta determine whether we can fund that or not. And you can't ask people for an SAD and turn around and start closing fire stations. You cannot do that, it can't happen.
So
It can't
the
happen. If you've got all
400
these
that they're
runs
asking
and
for,
all
is
these
that built in?
calls
Is that what this
to
number
answer.
is? So it's already
Water
factored
Township.
in.
It's already factored in.
You can't close a fire station, so who's gonna cover those calls?
So,
So,
So basically, he's got us, I mean, either you're gonna close the fire station, or
The 400
you're gonna give him the 400,000.
400 is here.
It's-
No,
No, it is.
got it.
Or we cut him
It
somewhere.
is. I know it's in there, but said we had to take it and put it in there though. So
It
that
makes-
money, we had freed
makes
up.
other
So we,
things less
here is to be
important.
determined,
Yeah.
Right.
Barb and Derek
Constricts
plugged in
everything.
here on their
They did.
individual.
Oh, good.
That's why you see the
So it
71%.
is, but it is.
it's already in there.
Yep.
We didn't, but we put it in there, not to say autocratically, it's in there,
Right,
period.
just to see what the picture
Now
would
we're saying,
look like.
like Gary's
if
saying
they
is,
do it.
yeah, it's factored in there.
You could take you
What do
could
what's the
reduce theirs
feedback? What do
by
you- What do you say, what do you
300
think,
or
what do you wanna do?
300.
We could adjust it.
And you could adjust their transfer back to another fund also, or you can keep it in their fund.
That
Or
is,
you can do other things.
and
or you-
like, I think Gary said, that's not a one-time expense, we gotta look at
That's
that
a
going.
reoccurring.
That's
The way it was presented, you're right, it was presented that this would be our model, like going.
Until we get more employees.
Right.
That's
Well,
gonna be a.
it's-
but you're gonna take that money to fund a new employee, you're gonna cut back.
No, exactly, I get it.
So just so we understand, just, and this is, so you understand, millage 1, millage 2, millage 3, this is fire.
Yep.
Millage 1, millage 2, millage 3, okay?
They-
Lake Angeles contract, Pontiac contract, the SAD,
Mark should-
and the
would be
SAD,
less expensive, they feel.
the 2 SAD funds, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Comes to $755,687 more than they got in 2019. It's an additional $750,000 in revenue that they got off of that.
And serve as the mechanic as well, there's some things that go on that just don't make a lot of sense. Since the captain's getting time and a half to be a mechanic as opposed to shipping that work out. As Gary was talking about, rather than working on the equipment ourselves, already paying somebody overtime to do it. The reason is because it's their equipment, they trust themselves to work on it better than they would.
Right.
So can you get a lot more?
Is that cost going up,
$90,000 this
Mark,
year
for them working on the
for
equipment,
the
or?
machine,
It's
for
overtime.
the high-speed
Yeah,
scanning.
some of it's overtime.
And if
For us,
their old pension system, it goes into their,
For-
you know,
For the high-speed
FAC,
scanning.
their final average
Am I budget?
compensation, it goes into their
Can
pension,
we
and we
afford
pay
the
that out.
90,000 this year
It's
because
So it'd be cheaper in the long run for us to find that work out.
2019.
Some of it, yeah,
Did
I
the board,
believe so.
did the
yeah.
board or did the not board
Well,
not?
as a board, we need to tell
The
them.
board just approved it.
Therefore, then in turn, it
If
was
that's where all the overtime
this
coming
budget.
from.
Yeah, and some of that stuff,
So
Tony, we have to
2019.
take care of in collective
In
bargaining as well.
2019.
You know,
If
some
that's
of the
when you,
things that
what,
we-
if you've gone
Or
forward.
repairing
and
equipment,
purchased
that's-
it, it would be in the
and
2019.
some of the things that will, I believe, help alleviate some of this situation
But
can
let's
be
look at
accomplished
it
in
today.
collective bargaining as well.
But she said the 2019 budget,
we'll have
did
to
you
do
bring
the
forward
overtime.
a memo
Yes.
to
How many
ask?
firefighters can be off at any
Yes,
given
but I
time?
brought
Okay,
this
so what it
forward
makes-
saying that
Sure,
I could
good luck
offer
with
this
that.
up
You're,
You know, hell,
as
fighting
an
man.
alternative
you're
to take it out of
gonna
the
be dealing
2020
with this
budget, provided
closer
that
than we are. It's your
use it
collective
for
bargaining.
2019, and 2019 would still
Do you
say
think it would be goodwill on our part
for
to just
the
let this
high-speed
go?
scanner.
No,
Keep- no, in other words,
We
do
can
it,
purchase it in
Fund
19,
it.
so we
Okay.
have
and
90,000.
then
We have 90,000
say-
to work with then.
this is the max.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, we
I'm
like to
looking at
do
it as
less
Because
of
it's in the
those.
2020 budget.
Right.
the
Or would it be
90,000
better to
It-
do
it-
less?
The only word
There's
caution
that-
I would say
That's a-
is
Administrative,
that it is a
saving lives,
one-time
right, there's this,
expense.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not-
I
so,
got you.
overtime and all that,
So-
that balance.
I see what you're saying.
It's
Yes.
more of a capital purchase.
You know,
That's
the
correct.
But
firefighter
it does free
administrator, I
up
think we're
2020
relying on,
monies, but not the
Matt,
future
as a new
monies.
chief,
Right, and so
you know,
we
we need him
need,
to be an administrator
from
as
what I
much
can
as
see,
firefighter.
we need
to accomplish all these
55,000
things, you know.
for WODA,
I would say,
and we need 68,900 for an IT person. And that, we take out the 3,000 from Allison, that take out 93,000 out of
That's
the
enough.
budget. We still have around a $30,000 problem.
The Parks and
Okay.
Rec is its own fund, so that,
we can't take it.
Oh, we
that
can't
doesn't
take it from
commingle
there?
like that way.
And what you're talking about, you're taking, we're recovering one-time expenses and going
I
into
know.
continuing expenses. So that's, we solved it for 2020, okay, what about 2021? How much is water gonna be in 2021, and, you know,
And-
high-speed
and that is-
scanner? That's a
that's-
I like
one-time.
the way you're thinking, I like the way you're.
But again, it just,
I understand it's a one-time.
that's why we put that stuff in different shades of blue and
It's better to fund
reoccurring,
half of it
you know.
and go to collective bargaining. Bargaining with that.
I don't
Can
know.
the $400,000 be viewed quarterly? Can you do 100,000 and then the board look at it on a quarterly basis? As opposed to putting $400,000 in.
Yeah,
for
we
the
could.
year?
Which,
Where's that chart that
I mean,
because I would tend to agree, if we're doing, the I
Timing
forget
is
the term
everything.
you used before, we're doing it based on, what the heck was it? Their scheduling is based on another time.
I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't feel
remember
comfortable
what you
doing
said.
it that way.
there's not an agent of change or a mechanism or a political will to like, let's say that we do it that way and it gets to that point and it's not the result that you want, well
Then what do you do?
Then what do we do?
Yeah.
Creative thought, I like this thought. I like
I
the
don't
idea.
understand, what is the minimum to keep the fire station open? I mean, there's so many factors being,
I think what they're saying is
Throwing-
that is,
That's
That's the
it?
minimum.
that's their position.
Yeah, based on their staffing, that's what they need.
Yeah.
So,
At the
the
current
way, the way I
service-
understand it too, after the Safer Grant, there's 107 firefighters, 3 different units that are comprised of, I wanna say, Gary will know if I'm wrong, 2 units have 22 people assigned and 1 has 21 people assigned. I think that's the breakdown. And when manpower drops below 17, because it's 17 guys as a minimum to maintain the stations as is, then the decision needs to be made. Do A, you call in for overtime, B, do you take a piece of equipment out of service, or C, do you close the station at some point below 17? Part of the reason is that the collective bargaining agreement allows them to have 6 people off on vacation at any one given time. That number works when the Safer Grant people are, when we had, how many, again, 39, right? And into those numbers, that number 6 works, but when the Safer Grant goes away and we're down to our current numbers, that number 6 is, the 6
was
is a
that
very high.
negotiated, those 6 people off, was
It
that
was
negotiated
negotiated.
during
The
the
Safer Grant.
Safer Grant?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Because
That's something
that's
I
a
should
deal
know.
changer, because if that was negotiated when numbers were higher, then that
I
makes
believe,
sense,
yes,
but
I
now
believe it
numbers
was.
are lower.
But I could
But
have
how,
sworn to it.
and was any of that factor, they had unlimited sick time at certain
That
points?
changed.
That
It
changed,
has.
but
More
who,
recently.
I do not know if
Was that a
it,
swap?
it changed at that point either. You know, there's different things that might
I'd have to
change the
research when
conversation.
that went into effect, but that number 6 is a really high number for the current staffing.
Which
It just
makes
is.
sense
It's
if that
very
was
high.
negotiated when they had the Safer
Correct.
Grant, but it needs to be re-looked at now that the numbers are lower.
But it's still, it's negotiation, and negotiation is a
Right.
give take, and in order for us
Right.
to get that, we're gonna have to give something else up, so understand that.
Right.
There is no, you don't get this and that, and then,
And then
that's
walk
all.
That's what you
away,
mentioned
no
before,
math
was
problem.
during the
And
Safer Grant.
understand,
No
they had
racial
that.
relations.
6 people guaranteed off, if somebody's off on workers' comp, they're not part of that group. If somebody's off on short or long-term disability,
They're not
they're
part
not
of
part
it.
of that group, okay? So there's still an additional 6 people off, so you have to, again, so now you're, say you have 2 people off, now you're 8 people short, you got enough people, bunch of, and we're guaranteed minimum manning in Pontiac, 13 people per shift. And if somebody calls in sick down there, overtime, we gotta send somebody down to cover it. So again, like I said, and I understand this type, I understand it, but again, it has to be funded. It has to be
So,
funded.
basically, yeah,
You mentioned something about like they all take it off in the summertime.
Well, and I'm not sure this is exclusive to Waterford from where I come from, though, time off, you know, as you look at a calendar on a bell curve, as you get to June, July, and August, it goes way up, in addition to when people can't get the vacation that they want, sick time remarkably goes up in those same summer months when you know, really, it's not the cold and flu season, it's something else, and then it blips up again in hunting season, and it blips up again at Christmas time, so, you know, mechanisms can be negotiated where it flattens out that bell curve, where you'd be required to take half of your vacation in April through October, and half of your vacation October through March. That's something that you'll find in other collective bargaining agreements, so that you don't run into these issues where overtime just gets out of control in those prime months. But again, people with high seniority are gonna say, wait a minute, I've worked my entire career to get the vacation picks that I want. I don't think it's fair to me that you now tell me that I have to take a, you know, winter vacation when I have property up north and I like to do things, and it would not be an easy sell, of course, but it would be something that would, and I'm not saying the overtime issue would go away, but that would certainly
Help a lot.
help out, right?
Well, I mean, is the overtime issue something good? People, I presume, like to work overtime.
Oh, sure they do.
No, they don't
No,
anymore.
they don't. Matt was just
I-
telling us
again,
before.
Well,
They-
that's interesting as well, because it depends what retirement system you're in, because if you're in a defined contribution, you know, younger employees, it's not as, right? I mean, for the first time, Matt actually asked me the other day about if we got into a situation where I couldn't get people to take overtime, what's the mechanism for mandatory overtime based on, you know, reverse seniority, which is almost, you know, I've been in this business for a very long time, that's something where you kind of almost chuckle at, because, you know, 25 years ago, that was, you know, the idea of people turning down overtime is
Unheard of.
it's just unheard of. But if you're in the old retirement system, you're in the defined benefit system, and you're in your final 3 years, because it's a best three
Well, you
system.
wanna- you
You
wanna
start
set
looking
up
at
some-
it like, but those are, again, those are the higher seniority employees at the higher rank, so time and
It's
a
gonna
half for
cost
those.
us in the long run anyways.
You start paying for, not only are you paying
We
it
had that
now,
problem with the police
you pay it on the
department.
benefit
Yeah.
system
Long time down
in
the road.
perpetuity.
You're paying a lot more.
And again, and then, like I said, then this overtime is up and above mandatory right now, because the way it works, them working 24-hour shifts, say it's $603,000 a year, plus in mandatory overtime that's paid out.
You know, I understand the overtime working manning the fire station, but this,
Yes.
working on our own equipment and overtime, I think it's a little ridiculous. We need to be contracting it out to Bostic or one of these places that does this type of work.
For cheaper.
You know, and I don't wanna knock Blake, but he's probably an old timer in the old system, and all the overtime he can get the next few years, he's gonna suck up.
Well, we went to lawn mowing service, contracting it out and cleaning all the time, been successful. It wasn't of the same quality we got, and I understand that. We're not looking to contract the fire service out.
No,
We're looking
no.
about stuff related to contracting it out, so that frees our guys up to do EMS.
Mechanical,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes,
mechanical.
this does.
Absolutely, they could, free them from working on the trucks, you know, changing the oil, spending $45,000 for a lift. I really believe in the long run it'll be cheaper to contract that out and quit the overtime for working on our vehicles.
And, we got,
And nobody's ever done a
All the
cost
equipment.
analysis, is it cheaper to do that in-house?
It breaks
To
down.
send it out, I don't know.
If you take their word for it, you know, they will tell you that it's cheaper.
Well, if they're
Yeah,
just sitting
take their
around
word.
just waiting for a call, they don't have anything to do, I suppose they could work on their
But-
truck.
Well, you wouldn't want to
But
crawl
the-
underneath
the
the
whole
car.
thing-
in the trucks.
What's that?
They got designated.
No, that truck's out of
people.
service then if they're working on it.
Yeah.
They have designated.
Designated people, yeah,
But I guess
not-
part of it too is the whole conversation is,
Oh, well, if they have designated people, then
They're-
that's a
they're-
different
you're
thing.
They're
changing
good
how
mechanics.
things have
They are.
traditionally
Good
been
mechanics.
run and how they
If you
feel
would
that
like
it should be
change.
run, and that's a harder thing to change.
Hypothetically, this 392, if it had to stay for perpetuity to cover overtime, how does this affect the SAD then? Are we just in this deficit every year? Where's it taking it away from them?
What's that?
Well, every year, if we have to come up with $400,000 from the SAD, that was to your point, how you started off.
That doesn't, the 400,000 didn't come out of the SAD.
That's general
I'm
fund.
saying,
It's coming out of the general fund.
Yeah,
Well,
initially, the money we were transferring to the general fund, once the SAD come, there was money in there to pay for that. you know,
I
for the,
see,
for
it
the
freed
week,
up
so.
that, okay.
But again, we
So
took,
that
we
the
turned around
general
and taken
fund
$400,000 right
Increase
there.
it and
Would
bear
it be-
that because they
would it
can
be-
take care of.
Okay to possibly assume that over 2 to 3 years, we might hire enough people to,
Okay, but where's the money gonna come from? You
no,
can-
I know.
We gotta look at revenue, we have to have revenue, and, you know, the wages go up at 2%, inflation's at 2%, cost of fuel goes up, everything goes up, so if you were struggling before, you're still struggling, because it's just a wash, or the costs go up a little bit more than the revenues go up, you know? We sell a few houses, they come on cap, we build a few new houses, they come on cap, that's revenue, we don't get all that money, but the percentage we get out that money is greater, but it's not enough to cut these ongoing costs.
Understood.
It just keeps going up, so you can do everything if you got the revenue for it. That's why the SAD came along and said, man, we can start buying fire trucks, we can buy police cars on a regular basis for the next 12 years. We're gonna have 5 more firefighters, we're gonna have 9 more police officers, and it's all gonna be paid for by the wonderful tax-paying citizens of that Grace Township we represent right there. Okay, but guess what, it's not enough.
Can we do something to potentially increase revenue?
Well,
Like,
that's
which is what we were talking about with
Well, they can.
What can we do?
Increase the EMS fees?
something.
Oh, I thought you meant the foundation stuff.
Fire did that.
No, but I'm
Increase the
just-
ambulance
what
fund
we-
fees?
I don't have a clue, I don't know.
Not increase, but start charging, you know, like you said, it's just, I heard it said like say, and this is not picking on the nursing homes,
Completely.
but you know, but the senior centers where people live, but they said like 6 to 8 weeks into the new year, you know, you basically, whatever revenue you're getting from these pilot places is burned up on EMS right there. And they said one day there was recent, they ran 5 times to the same home in one day. Same home 5 times, they ran to one of them in one day, they just did, it was a bad day. It's not every day, but
Right.
it's an example, but that's the examples they use, and then recently they said they had all 5 EMS rigs out, we had 2 EMS rigs in from other municipalities covering calls, and they called Star EMS, and it took them 27 minutes to respond to a call. Because our rigs were all tied up, and we had 2 other municipality independents in West Bloomfield tied up, and so they called the private ambulance service, and it took them 27 minutes to respond to a call, but they got there, you know, but it just, and thankfully it wasn't somebody that needed somebody in the first 5 to 7 minutes.
So I'm wondering who's paying for these EMS funds anyway? I mean, is it the individual's health insurance?
They're billed.
Correct, whatever the
Well,
insurance company
insurance.
pays is
So
what
it-
they collect.
So it's
Unless it's outside.
mostly probably insurance companies, correct?
It is, yes, it is, but it said, but they know what they bill, they know what they bill, and then they know what they collect.
Right.
Okay, and then again, we had talked about, you know, and when our guys are on a fire in Pontiac, I want them protected.
Absolutely.
But that wasn't part of the original agreement for our EMS rigs to go down and cover those guys, okay? But I still want our rigs covering those guys, those are our guys, I want them covered.
Yes, they
But
are.
at the same time, mutual aid's coming in to cover, sometimes we pick up, we need to find out, okay, what are we losing in that transport that the mutual aid people are getting at that? So when we negotiate our next contract, we can factor that stuff in as part of the contract.
Good point.
Plus the guys that are down there covering there, you know, you say they're down there, say 2 guys, 3.5 hours, 7 man-hours right there. What's that cost? We gotta figure that out too, you know what I'm saying? And then when you go, there's gotta be some stuff for payroll, and for dispatch, and for HR, that stuff, that all is related to the additional employees we have with that contractual agreement. We have to figure all that stuff in. First time, and it's gonna roll the dice, you know, say we never contracted fire services to anybody before other than Lake Angeles, so, you know, we came up with a number, and that's what we agreed upon, and that's what we've got, but then we need to look that over, see where we're at, what it's gonna be for the next time around, and not looking to gouge or rip anybody off, or us to get rich off of it.
Is that 2021 when that contract?
2022.
2022. So, you know, you said they have 3 crews over there, 22, 22, and
I
21?
believe so, those are the numbers, 3
Here.
different units here.
Right, here,
Yeah.
here, so,
Pontiac 13, 13, 13.
okay, so they need 17 people to
I believe so, that at
basically run.
the bare
Bare
minimum.
bones, at the bare
right,
bones.
it's the number 17.
So you would have an additional 14, you have, you know, 5 on 2 groups and 4 on the other.
Right.
And
how difficult is it to negotiate this six?
It's not gonna be easy, you know?
No, it's not.
No, it won't.
This 6 coverage down to 5,
Or
4.
They'll probably come in looking for 8,
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you know.
thinking 6 would be where people would settle.
Well, and you do run that, I mean, okay, so it's just a natural thing, this isn't exclusive to Waterford or anywhere else, but if I really need a vacation day and I can't get it off, because the number just cannot, you gotta negotiate lower, what are you gonna do, right?
Call sick.
So, you know, it is the cure-all, is what I'm trying to say, but it would help, you know, on any given day. But, you know, and I think one of the reasons, one of the things that's happening out there, the runs are going up, medical runs, and we keep using these numbers, and for, 10 years, they keep going up, and it was like, why are they going up? And we're looking at it like it's the senior living complexes that are doing, but at the same time, too, a lot of people don't have health insurance out there, and so instead of going to see their primary care physician, when they start to feel bad, they can't or they don't, then they get really sick and they call EMS to take them to the emergency room. I mean, that's happening more and more. And we're becoming a taxi service for things that should be taken care of through health insurance and somebody's primary care physician.
Yeah, but it's not, and you're not gonna stop it.
You're not, but
No.
but again, Tony, it's trending up. You know, it's like,
So,
so those runs didn't happen
Since
as
11, I think
much
they said
years
the
ago.
EMS runs gone up 50%. I think it
Well,
was-
yeah, well, 50, yeah.
Well,
The
50%.
payment in lieu of taxes, the people that we just charge a little bit, I mean, they don't pay property taxes, they pay a service fee. And it's
They
low
pay
income housing.
8%, they pay 8% of what their rent is, up to
Right.
8% of what their rent
Right.
is, and that's it.
Right.
Like I said, the one place where my mother-in-law and brother-in-law lived, they raised their rent, I call it rent, $465 a month, no, it wasn't rent, for services rendered. So there's another 400, so there's another 465 times 150 times 12 months, there's another, $574,000 or whatever it is but they're not paying that 8%. So it
Oh.
just, so that's revenue that they're getting, but it's for services rendered.
Well, so Mary, you
Fight
understand this
that.
whole fire paradigm better, well, better than me. What is your recommendation
For,
for the 400 and overtime I want?
well, but like I said, we were talking there, you said we had we're at 107 with the SAD, right? 107, plus we're gonna take away 3. Fire chief, deputy chief, and fire marshal, because they're not there, okay? Taking away 39 for Pontiac, okay, that leaves us 65 people, 22, and 21, his numbers are right on, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so if you take that 22 and take away 6 people, where does that put you at?
16, you're short
16.
one.
You're short
Okay,
one.
Okay, you take the 21 and take away 6, where you at?
You're short
15.
Okay, so you gotta bring in 1 on overtime, you gotta bring in 2, it could get us back to 17. And I think we were looking at stations, we were looking at 5, 4, 2, and 2. So 5, 4, 9, 4, 13, 3, 4, 17. Yep.
Mhm.
17 people, right? That add up, right?
so what does that
Okay,
equate to
17.
financially?
But I'm just saying, when people are, I said right off the bat, right off the bat, we're short. I said, if you have 6 people off, right off the bat, you're, with 1 shift, you're 2 short, the other 2, you're 1 short.
So that brings us to the 400,000?
Correct.
That's what, in
Right.
addition to the 545, they already, I think 545 was already factored in
Right.
addition. So we're now at 945,000. So let me just share these last numbers with you and then I'll shut up, okay? I looked at the overtime numbers since SAFER went away, okay?
Okay.
Overtime numbers since SAFER went away, and you take them and calculate them out, okay? We had 2,596 and a half hours since SAFER's gone away, okay? You take that number and divide that by the 3 payroll periods, and then you multiply that by 26 pay periods, that gives you 22,503 overtime hours, okay? And that calculates,
20,503.
yeah, and that calculates out to $896,519.52. That's on 2019 scale. Let's go up 2%, and that calculates out to $914,521.92. And they're asking for $945. So I'm saying, again, they've done their math,
Mhm.
and they've done their projections and stuff, but again, I look at this, and I requested this, okay? The 3 pay periods since then, we've got, and these are just the triple digit overtime hours. 100 hours, 128 hours, 121 and a half hours, 102 and a half hours, 132 and a half hours, 103 and a half hours, and 123 hours. Okay, and obviously, these are guys willing to work overtime and cover those shifts. I mean, it has to be done, but it just, like I said, and that's just, we had a 3 pay period October. It was one of the months where it just worked out, 3 pay periods. But that, like I said, that's the 3 full pay periods since Safer went away. Safer went away September 25th or something. So this is the 3 full pay periods. So then these are the numbers we had to work with, so you take them, divide it by 3 and multiply it by 26 and project ahead to next year. These are just projections. Add in the 2% cost, in wages. But again, their numbers are what they're actually doing right now and what they're projecting for are pretty close.
Pretty close?
Yeah, very, very close. And these are the numbers for all overtime, correct? This is all overtime.
This is overtime.
Overtime, right here.
I sorted out the overtime.
When you have to have the 17 firefighters, I don't know how they even word this, because they do like a roll, you do rolling out for electricity, you shut something down. Say you got enough firefighters at one station, station 1. Can you shut down one for a night and man the other one, so you have the minimum manning?
But then what happens if you have to have them fire on the one that you shut down?
Well, it's not gonna, it's only a couple miles apart.
You can, except for the fact that you did guarantee 13 firefighters for the city of Pontiac at all times. So that,
13.
you're locked into that.
Okay, that's in our contract.
And-
What about water for?
And if somebody's not there, you have to send somebody down, there.
That's
Okay, I
You
just,
have
I
to
wanna
send-
throw
you
that
have to
out there.
send somebody down there. So again, like I said, it's just, they've done their math on it. They made the numbers work. But again, like I said, it's just, that's the way it is. And as times go on, you don't need to call more people in because you have more calls. You work a 24-hour shift.
Mhm.
If 5 calls come in that shift, or 3 calls come in that shift, or 9 calls come in that shift,
Same thing.
it's in the 24-hour shift, okay? You need to call people in because you're short-handed.
You're right.
And we just talked about, and again, he said the one guy's not gonna be back till at earliest end of January because he had a serious injury. So I'm confident, so that there's one we're down right there, so now we're down to, 15, 15, and 16, so obviously he was on a shift. So, and then if somebody else is off short-term or long-term, so again, you're bringing in people, and they said, Matt, come in 2 months ago, and he showed me the numbers there. And I think I said, it's just, okay, but see what you guys are doing. Then I had a meeting with those guys the week before. And again, like I said, that anything, the numbers were getting worse as far as, needing more people in overtime rather than better. But they didn't get any better or any less money or when they needed any less money. So again,
All right, I would have to agree with your statement about we can't have an SAD and take away service.
you can't.
Well, no,
You
it's-
can't tell the people,
So-
by the way, you're paying additional money.
You can't.
I think we have to provide the service, which means
Are they
use the
com-
number
Right.
and do everything we can to, number one, try to renegotiate whatever we can do to pre-safer grant or whatever we can do, understanding the numbers we have. And at the same time, potentially try to hire a couple more firemen.
Okay,
And again, where does the money come from? We gotta look at that end of it too. Is there any way to squeeze more lemon out of it?
Well,
Squeeze
we
more
got the
juice out of
SAD,
it?
they were like 5 a year,
you got 5
5,
years.
we were
No.
hiring 5 a year.
Which at the end of 2015, beginning of 16, or end of 14, we had budget, fire was about $280,000 off in our budget. So I just said, basically, you gotta retire in October, November, and December. We're not backfilling those positions. So fire went down from 105 to 102.
Right.
They went down, that's when they closed the station on Williams Lake Road.
Yeah, that's what,
Okay, so from 105 to 102, okay, and then now you got 5 more people in, so you're at about 7, okay?
Mhm.
Okay, chief, deputy chief, fire marshal, obviously they're not running on calls, they got the oversight of it, they got more to do than,
Right.
that they already done, looking at that. But, okay, I look back, pre-first safer grant, we had 5 stations up and running. We were doing service in Pontiac. Okay, when I came into office, we had 5 stations open, and we were doing the Pontiac contract. We were-
So
we
what's the
started that
difference?
year.
Do they
Well,
have the
the
6
EMS
people?
runs, maybe.
Safer
Okay.
grant came in. And
The safer
and
grant came in and it
They did
spiked it up.
this, and spiked it up, and so
Right.
there wasn't a need for overtime during the period of time.
Okay.
Those extras
And then it
were-
came back down,
Because
and
those
then it
numbers
now
that we
there
talked,
is.
we never got close to
a little
those.
more,
So
and
we
then
were-
it spiked
we were
it back up
staffed at a
again.
point.
We didn't need them,
So
but
is
now
it
it's gone,
realistic
and
to
the
think
call
once the
volumes
new
increased.
government outcry
Increased.
this overtime number should go down? That would be reasonable to think.
What's that?
That when the new people are hired, that overtime number should go down. Isn't
It should, but like you said, if you, say like we hire 5 new people, but there's 5 people off on short-term, long-term disability,
So-
workers' comp, whatever it might be, that's a wash there. We're back to where we were, and you're still guaranteed 6 people off, that's what I'm saying, that's just
So I think
math.
they're looking at it as, it's
A
including
perpetual
the, it's including the new people, they're still gonna need the 400,000. They're not saying, once we get to that level, I'm not hearing that being said, that
Once
once
we get to
they
that
get
level, it
level,
can still get worse.
you
That's
know,
what they're saying.
they're saying we need the 400, we need the new people that were part of the SAD, and with those people in place, we still need 400,000 additional
Right.
funds in overtime.
This year.
That's this year.
Right,
But-
that's what, and they're close, based on their numbers, they're close, but if we could get those 400 hours, okay, to be regular time, it's 266, it's.
They're also paid mandatory overtime because they work 24-hour shifts.
Yeah, there's 603,519.
Okay,
That's
so that number
That's a
is,
state law, we can't affect
And,
that.
Yeah.
and there's a second line at one point, both overtime and mandatory overtime were in one line item, so it was hard to always determine which one was which, and at one point in the recent past, they separated. So now you can at least see, you know, so I don't know how overtime works in relationship to mandatory overtime.
But the overtime's not broke down either. You got overtime for repairing trucks and for fighting fires. Where's the breakdown?
just,
How much
We
is
have to
for,
ask them.
that's what we need to know.
Well, we're gonna have to do a follow-up meeting, obviously.
Yeah, we have to know
because-
that, then we can cut the overtime for the repairs, and
Potentially.
they're gonna need, well.
But when you do
potentially,
that,
okay, I'll give you that,
do realize
it's
that.
definitely worth looking at,
absolutely.
no doubt.
Your repair and maintenance line cost will go up. So overtime will go down, repair and maintenance go up. So that's just.
Well, it might just even out though too,
But
but then we'll
overtime
have
is,
more firefighters on the road instead of
overtime's not
repairing
gonna have, the
vehicles.
repair and maintenance might be.
So like you said, no,
There might
I'm
be
just
some
saying that
savings
as
there.
soon as
The
you
trick is
say-
if we can save a little bit here, you can save a little bit maybe negotiating, we could potentially get some more revenue somewhere that might cover some of, agreed, we gotta find the
Well,
money
we got a
somewhere.
couple of firefighters working on trucks, they should be in a station, manning the station. You know?
I know one of our mechanics is retired, he came back, he's part-time.
Right,
Then your part.
It's a straight wage and social security, that's it, that's all he does.
And he's the one working on the vehicles.
He's one of our mechanics, yes, yep.
Where the other ones lie, I don't know.
Again, I don't.
The
I
other
don't
ones
know.
are probably working,
I don't know what to say, I was over, in fact, you were with me, when we went over, we went over and looked at the Pontiac stations, we
Oh,
looked
yeah.
at it, and that's a really nice setup they have over
the
there.
Madison Street one.
Yep, and then so we also looked, you know, there was a proposal to build a new fire station over to the west side
On
of the
Walton.
Mason Middle School on Walton. Would be on the south side of Walton, west of the Mason School, we own that property. We did a trade with the township, or the school district. We got that property and they got some property we had, but talked about that and then talked about if and when that station is built, building a repair
So,
maintenance building on that same property, so it's, you know, Pontiac contract were to go away, we don't have that place to work on our vehicles anymore, so that's what we were going to do, you know, price that out at the same
we
time.
really do have a place, we got right across the street here,
DPW.
you know, DPW.
Yep.
But why would they not be repaired, there's beyond me, I don't know.
It wasn't, it was this way it was before I came here.
I understand that, but things change.
No, I
You
don't.
know, the cost could come down if we had it over there.
And quite a while back, I looked at the mandatory overtime numbers and stuff like that, and I suggested going to 12-hour shifts for fire. We'd have to increase the workforce by at least
Okay.
50%. 50%, you know, more people, and again, so you're gonna take away the mandatory overtime money to go towards the wages, because no more mandatory overtime, then you take away the food allowances, which would go towards that too.
$350,000 or
But at the
something.
same, but I'm just saying, at the same time, the numbers I was looking at to see what it would take to fund that, and then by the time you brought that in, and it was not well received, it wasn't, it just wasn't, but again,
Do we know that the people working on the fire trucks, they're full-time firemen first,
Mhm.
right?
the firefighter, paramedic, or fire
Right, so
party.
there's, right,
Yes.
okay.
They are
What's the-
government.
They're 56-hour employees.
Would it
Yeah.
be stupid to assume we might be able to trip on a few people who would just be mechanics? That might wanna work at that facility in Pontiac and potentially just work on repairing trucks?
Well, we have a facility right across here, the
Huh?
DPW. We have a garage over here. We
Yeah,
have,
Okay.
we have certified mechanics.
I'm wondering if those mechanics could, because they like to service the trucks, obviously, in that place in Pontiac, it looks like, it sounds like.
Well, that's,
Well, they love the overtime.
Which makes sense.
that's the place to do it. Where they did it before that, I'm not sure, where they worked in a vehicle.
Do you think
I wasn't
Mad
here,
tracks
so.
those hours, like what?
I don't know.
I'm just,
I don't know.
I think there's a bunch of different places we can pull things from.
Do you
Yeah, I agree
It's gonna
with
take
you.
work,
somewhere?
but
Have to ask.
I don't think we can, I
The
agree, we
mechanics,
can't
I
give
like
up the
that
service.
idea
That's
about just hiring mechanics at a lower.
at a lower rate.
You don't need
Yeah,
to
because
hire them
they're-
though, we got facilities.
And granted, but we don't wanna pay them overtime either.
But if the work picks up at F&O, you're gonna have to have somebody to do the work.
That's right.
You're gonna
Yeah,
add a mechanic to it
F&O, I think is gonna be
Yeah, okay,
expensive.
But these are people in the new pension system, not the old
Yeah.
pension system, but
It
we'll
depends
go into
on
their
the
final average compensation.
If
And
it's
it's
work
to
that's
do it so they
contained
won't be
within-
working overtime. Again, these people will be on a 40-hour shift.
Yeah,
Or
I
maybe a time when they gotta.
understand. And it might get a little bit higher over there, the cost, but
But
like I
again,
said, we have to
Wonder
look
if you could
at,
pick up a couple of retired mechanics somewhere that just wanna
But
work
the age of
part-time.
these
and-
trucks.
well, we have one,
Huh?
Yeah.
we have one,
Well,
but
right, that's what I'm saying.
we have one already working.
But the age of these trucks, we gotta get, there's a lot more work being done on these
Mhm,
vehicles
I
than
can
we would
understand
normally
that.
have because they
I agree.
literally break down on a regular basis, trucks and EMS rigs both. But again, we're trying to get to that point to where we've got newer vehicles and it's like, it's regular maintenance, you know, it's
Well, there's regular
preventative
maintenance on all the
maintenance
vehicles in our.
and oil
in-
changes
in
and
township.
brakes and rotating tires and stuff like that, rather than, you know, doing drivetrains and rear ends
Right,
and
and-
framework and all that stuff.
And I would think that we don't need to be paying a fireman time and a half to do stuff
Well,
like
that's the
that.
question, we gotta break it down, how much
Right.
overtime's going into repair?
But I don't, we're not gonna get that answer.
Well,
the-
We're not gonna get that answer today.
No, but
No,
they've
not
looked at
today.
that stuff before, because they've come up with the ideas of what, or come up with the number, what the costs are to fix these vehicles, why, what it's, the astronomical amount of money that it's costing, they had numbers in the past. I don't know if I saw them with all the numbers that we had there, but,
We compare their numbers with, plastic out there,
Right.
what they charge per hour, you know, what's their rate for working on vehicles? Talk to other communities, West Bloomfield, other ones that have their own fire departments, how are they repairing, where are they going? Do they have firefighters on overtime repairing, we don't know these questions.
no.
These are questions we need to know. Look at the bigger communities, even like Royal Oak, Clinton Township, stuff like that, Canton Township. How did they,
In Warren, we had an apparatus garage, we closed it.
in Warren?
The fire equipment was more and more as our, for lack of a better term, our DPW mechanics were becoming certified in working on
Mhm.
fire equipment. And we were trying to move that towards that and have that, taking that work out of the fire department and putting in certified mechanics, whether it be farmed out or whether it be done in-house. But it wasn't, we were at the point where the firemen weren't working on the equipment any longer.
So in Warren, the fire department was working on their own equipment there too?
But they phased that out.
And
They
we
were
phased it out
I
to go
understand,
to
but maybe
DPW.
that's a
Right.
practice.
I mean, you're a fireman, you're a
It
fireman,
makes
you're not
sense.
fireman
That makes
slash
perfect sense
mechanic.
to me.
Does.
I'll get ahold of my LCAP supervisors that have.
I will say this though,
Full-time fire
some of our
Yeah.
mechanics resisted becoming certified in fire equipment because, same
Right.
thing. What are
They
you gonna do,
didn't
what are you
want
gonna do for me
That's
now
like
that I
getting-
have this skill, you know?
Right.
It's like getting Dwayne Warner or Chet Bardo from the police department working on the police cars, changing the oil, you know, doing the exhaust. You know, you got one job to do the one job.
Vehicle and apparatus expense, $142,000.
That one is a payment that will, for the EMS brakes that were bought
Okay.
a good number of
He
years.
just
got-
mentioned apparatus.
And you got the installment going.
Yeah, Chase, so
the
that's,
payment.
That was the one we financed.
Yes.
That was,
Yeah, I think it's about, maybe in 21 it'll go away.
Yeah.
Did we get talked about that?
yeah, it might be. It's winding down.
Eric, before you look through all this, is there a cost on repairs in here? A line item, I don't think there was. But
Well,
is there-
sometimes they put all of their repair and maintenance for equipment in,
That's what I wanted, is there a line item for repairs?
There is a R&M. There's a contract R&M and then an R&M, I believe.
But then there is,
it's just that the
The computers, apparatus?
salaries is in the salary line.
Yeah, the salaries part.
Yeah, so that's not
break
broken
that
down.
out.
So if they needed a supply, they would put it in the contract repair and maintenance supply line or
Yes.
parts line,
So it's
but
at
not the labor.
152,500, 152,500 for this year, the 92, 130?
For
That
apparatus.
sounds about right.
Yeah, that's equipment, correct?
Apparatus.
Mhm.
But then we still don't know what the overtime,
Hourly
the
rate
hourly
is for it, yeah.
wages, you have to figure that in
You'd
there.
have to get with Matt and Bonnie in conjunction.
what's in that contingency line?
That's for, you know, the contracts.
contracts get
And
settled.
for a little bit of, truly if there was an emergency, like something happened. It's a little bit held back for that too.
the potential 2% pay increase,
It's
that's
largely what
part of
it
that,
is.
that's vastly, that's probably 80% of that, 75 or 80% of that number.
There's maybe 40 or 50 for what if.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we gotta look at other, departments if we had requests, so we want to do it alphabetically
So are we done with this?
with the fire one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything else we can.
I came up with 4 things we can look for: additional revenue, hire additional personnel, including mechanics, renegotiate to pre-safer grant levels, and obviously apply for a safer grant.
The federal government's doing away with, like, they're not even
So that's not
there
even an
to
option.
apply for. Well, at least this administration, who knows?
Yeah, they're gonna realign that too, like I said, they gave us 2 grants for 39 people. But the way the Safer Grant was originally set up is economies were starting to recover, municipalities starting to grow, they give you a grant to hire like 6 or 8 firefighters, but at the end of that grant, you would absorb some or all of it.
Into your force.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. So when we got 39 people, and it was made crystal clear, and Derek and Barb pulled off some good ones there. What about unemployment? I mean, there was a lot of things we had to look at. It was great, but then all of a sudden we had to rear back and say, whoa, wait a minute. These guys are all gonna potentially get laid off.
Right.
39 people on unemployment. Geez, that was pushing, for 26 weeks, that was pushing $500,000. Yeah, $500,000. So, yep, nope, that's part of it. That's funded. There was a separate fund for that. So, I mean, thank God they backtracked to make sure that was all taken care of.
Are they doing away with them this year, or, because people did get them this year?
They
We applied,
they're
we just
re-
didn't get it.
They're redoing it,
I-
yeah.
I don't think you can apply for a safer grant while you currently have
You
one.
can't.
And then the safer grants are changing, that is what I heard the next round of them is. So
Is it-
you'd almost have to
Okay.
ask when the
Three
next
or
opening.
4 years it wasn't it?
Didn't we apply for one this year, or?
I'm under the
I
understanding
thought
that
you
we
said
did
you
not.
did.
I thought somebody said we did
I
before.
thought John.
I don't think we could, because you're currently under one.
Because
were
we are
under that.
currently
We couldn't
under
apply. We
Right,
couldn't
we
apply.
couldn't
But it
apply
seemed
this
like
year.
You'd have to wait
somebody
till the
said
next
it was
window.
So you have to skip,
4 years?
you have to skip.
We had
100%,
one, and then we skipped one, we missed
75,
one.
50, 25, and the 5th year it's on your dime. So the first year they pay 100%.
Yeah, that's what's
They pay
changing.
75, they pay
Gotcha.
50, they pay 25, and then the 5th year it's on your dime. But I mean, you got to absorb those people. Okay, so just, that thing's all fluff.
No, I got you.
Crystal ball, I can't see into it very good,
Yes.
but what's gonna be in 5 years, you know what I'm saying, so.
It's kinda like
They're
the
telling you,
first
get a grant, can I get 3 people, or can I get 5 people, or 2 people, or 1 person, you know what I'm saying? And we could absorb 1 person in 5 years, but
But that was why the previous safer grant was a whole different ball of wax.
But, and I think Matt and Ken's possibly right for another state, because they said down the road, they said that they're looking, with the increase in stuff right now, our last meeting, they're gonna need at least 10 more people, okay? They're gonna need at least 10 more people, And as I say, one a year for 10 years, might be able to squeeze it in, but I'm gonna need it sooner than that. So are we gonna do like 2, 3, 2, 3, or, you know, are we gonna do 5 and 5, or, you know, 1, 3 and 3, 3, 3, 3, 3? I mean, just either way, okay,
Yeah.
that's what you need, we understand that, but where's the revenue to come to support that? So it just, it always comes back to
Revenue.
funding source, funding source, funding source. Revenue
It's
over
down in
expenses.
cents.
Revenue over expenses.
No money down there.
It just isn't much fun. So,
Okay,
let's do it alphabetically.
hit it.
Assessing, okay? Are we good with the final numbers we came up with there that we talked about yesterday? And that was for the 3, okay? Jerry's going back.
Assessing 3, 2 levels, 18, 17, 15 minutes.
I think we included like maybe in our.
Yeah, it's like about
So when we talked yesterday, we were below the original number but above the other one.
And then when we factored in the
2%,
future, that pretty much.
2804 was, I remember that number, was 2804.
Right. It was, it was, so they actually went over 4 cents. I believe. You're right. So, yeah, we're done with that.
So we're good with assessing?
Yes.
This is one, this is another one. You're dealing with stuff that, maybe I ran it through the shredder so I didn't have to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, we went up $2 and
Yeah.
so
What
that.
was
I
it?
wanna say grade 5,
Oh.
4.
No,
But that, those were.
this is Teamster, not, this is Teamster, not.
Yeah.
What was the number? 2749, does that sound right?
That's the number, all of it.
2749.
Yeah, I got it down here.
$2, $257.
2740.
Okay, so you took 2724.9 times 2%, which you have got 2804, bingo, we have a man,
2804.
so that's 20.
So they'll get up to 2804 for volume, they're doing 2% increase with the contract.
Yeah.
That's an assumption too, by the way.
It is just an
It's
assumption.
an assumption, but it's,
But it all has to be negotiated and done, at least there is, it's a good
we need
assumption.
Howard to sit next to him, so
It's traditional.
put some blame on Howard.
I'm sure Howard would've been kicking me during that last conversation.
Okay, next up is development services. Was there anything in there that we had the no on the full-time inspector, we approved the part-time mechanical inspector. 4 days 1 week, 3 days another, so we don't violate the Obamacare for health care. We did that, there was a to be determined on here, and that's a tri-party road projects. One comes up, or we think of one, or a request comes up from one, we'll do that, but, what kind of, really funding designated for that?
Yeah.
We do for 2021.
For 2021, nothing scheduled that I heard of for 2020.
There was no projects on Rob's radar that anybody wanted, we did 2 this year. We
Yeah.
did
Some
Midland
dis-
Street partial, and we did Mason Day Drive
Because
partial.
I think he was trying
Just
to
talk
talk
to
to
them
them,
about some other items.
he was trying to talk to them about, I guess there's subdivision streets that are heavily traveled.
Yeah,
That
the
are
cut
categories.
through,
cut
The
through
cut
style
throughs,
road.
which the county doesn't traditionally use those as tri-party projects, and I think he was trying to get them to consider some of those. So within the budget, we do not have a number earmarked for anything tri-party.
No.
But it will be, and again, we didn't see, Rob did not seem to have.
Yeah, no.
So it's just to be very much aware of that because it is coming out of the 246 fund, the revolving improvement fund, which is where all of the repair and maintenance for the township or
other things that the township is responsible, such as drains and sidewalks.
There is money in the tri-party fund though, isn't there?
There is not a
There's
tri-
zero right now?
Oh,
Not
well,
for
no,
us,
the
not our match.
county,
Oakland County has tri-party for us.
Okay,
funding available.
okay.
We have to come
But
up
our
with a
match,
third.
we don't have funded right now, what we would put our contribution.
Okay, 2021, we're gonna have to come up with the 134?
Correct.
Yeah,
Oh, so we're gonna have to come up with that next budget?
Yep.
that's the next.
I see, okay, I always thought that we had a little savings in there for projects that come
No,
up.
set aside a designated.
Okay.
It's just
it's the
two
county that
forty-six
has.
fund for us, for us.
When the Midland Street and Base Day come up, there you got together, we did a fund transfer to get that money in for the two.
Okay.
Like we did the year before when we
Right.
finished Springby's, we
Yeah.
did that.
Same with if the county comes through, it's good, made me think about it, if they come through again and say, oh, did you know that you guys had this one drain that the county has, it's all dilapidated. You owe 200 and whatever thousand, or
Yeah.
nice,
Did you know?
nice notice, you know, I didn't, okay.
Oh, it's not
By the
our
way, your
drain.
share's
Oh,
230
well, it needs to be
grand.
fixed immediately, and here's your chunk.
Here's your share, and you know,
Right.
So that's why you talk about fund balance and proper
Yeah.
levels and stuff, boy, yeah, cause this stuff comes through and it's measured in the hundreds of thousands for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's, again, like you said, but I know the last street that was talked about was Van Zandt, as far as a cut-through street.
Mhm.
But again, that was so controversial because the people are speeding there now, but the road needs to be fixed. If you fix the road, it's become a racetrack, so it was just, so that just kind of nobody wanted to touch that, so it just kind of fell off the
And
ground.
Rob didn't mention any projects
Yeah,
or anything
that's,
coming up yesterday,
No, there's nothing that's
Oh, it is?
like hard set at this moment.
so we really don't have to.
I know.
No, but it's a, I mean, it could happen, you know, it's kind of a, something
Keep it
could come
in the back of
through,
your mind,
is
yeah.
what we're saying.
Hmm.
I guess keep your eye on the ball for fund balance in that fund, is what we're trying to say.
but I did tell everybody, the first three people that were ticketed on Van Zandt Street were not students.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying they were parents, teachers, principals, bus drivers, and I'm not saying
Well,
who they were, but I'm
we
saying
can
they were
imagine.
not students racing down Van Zandt Street, so that was good in that regard. Got some good work, kids. So anyways, I'm not crying, my eyes are tired. Need a prescription for another pair of glasses, so. Okay, next up, treasurer's office.
Okay.
Uh,
Compromise, grade 5, step 4.
Right.
And then I'm leaving you guys to solve the part-timers pay, to be determined.
Yeah, right there, I'm reading in there, we start with 3, 5, 6, 5, 4, 6, or 5, 3, 5, 4, sold!
Done.
That's
Done
it.
deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
an
is
auctioneer?
It was like an auction.
Rhoda in the development services?
What's that?
The Rhoda, is that in development
Well,
services?
we not,
I don't think WODA got put on any place in particular
You
because
have
it was
75
kind of an add-on
You
to.
had 75,000 in there, right?
Yeah, if you go
that
to
fee.
174, I think 74 in the budget.
Yeah, 87, 500, 174, 70.
I'm sorry, 174, 70, let's get to that.
Where does that fall? Community promotions?
Yeah, I think 174, 70.
is that fund transfers?
174, 70.
No,
What page you want?
18, I'm
There
sorry,
you go.
page 18.
18. Yep, that's the third one down. It's under the transit system. Again, can I put a 5-second little plug here?
Yeah.
If you did a sidewalk millage and made it a transportation thing, you could also include senior transportation and pedestrian walkway all into one, how we move around in the township. I will stop.
That's a good plug.
Yeah.
You're looking about fundability, it's a transportation item, walkability and transportation. And then, it's kind of like why with Parks and Rec, it used to all come out of the general fund, there was a recession, it was getting to the point where it was getting, the boat was taking on so much water, I mean, are we there with this yet? You know, I mean, it's just one of those things. Sorry. It's the way I see it.
But we have multiple topics in which that's pretty
Right,
much,
like a
like, you
community
have it a
center,
community
right?
center.
Yes.
You have pedestrian pathways, you have the transit system.
All
Also
that
had
stuff
subdivision
attracts
wishes.
younger people though. All
It
that-
attracts more people, but
Makes
you
the
have
housing
to
more
bring it
valuable.
to
The
the
Rhoda is
voters.
very important to our seniors, and we do have a lot
Without
of
a doubt.
seniors.
Without a doubt.
here.
Yeah, I think did Bob say 13.5 a quarter, is that what he said? From CDBG, is that what he said yesterday, 13.5 was it, for 54,000?
I've seen 12,500 of those, but,
12,500 might have been the smart
That-
credits.
oh,
Yeah, might have been.
they're very close.
I know, that's what.
And after January first, the smart credit will come back, that's the last two,
But
we'll
yes, it
send them over, that'll come to us.
Which is what I thought.
The smart,
Correct.
well, the last half,
Right.
because they're on a mid-year,
Right.
July.
Yes, we need 50 extra, but
How should we get comfortable?
so that, it was not in the development services. That was my original question. This development services up here, this money for proposed 2020 budget of 127,750, that's not included in the development services?
Correct.
Okay, so it's included some other place.
Yes, community
Hey,
development.
Rob, how you doing?
Community development. block
Good.
grant money.
The
Where he was gonna pull
CDBG
that from
quarterly
is
funding was
outside
at
of
13,500.
services. He administered.
Because-
For the
Because
transportation.
WODA was
Presented
not,
that to us, his plan for next year, that was at a board meeting, that was in there for senior transportation and allocated.
for
His
CDBG.
management plan for CDB, that we all had to approve.
good,
that
bad, or
was in
indifferent,
there.
I think WODA
Right, right.
goes between the cracks,
I was thinking
because
about- I was
there's
thinking
no
about
one
the
who
first
brought
October, yeah,
forward
okay.
a memo that specifically said, this is what we need for WODA. We knew that there was this basic discussions, so we did put into the budget
I thought it
the
was 12
additional
I thought
amount.
you said yesterday
35,000.
35,000 to get it up to 75,000,
Okay.
because we thought, but that's also why it didn't kind of get in here, is there was no one specifically bringing forward the whole.
That's why we,
Okay, it was-
we
it was-
peeled over to this page to talk about that, because we were, when we were talking, Barbara and I were like, we better talk about WODA and where that's at, so.
So it's in the budget.
Yes, but the budget, what they're expecting.
13,803.50.
It's short.
It keeps,
Oh.
yeah, we're not,
It's short 50,000.
Because what happened is originally, it sounded like the total that we were supposed to
Derek,
contribute was
55,214.
150-ish,
Okay, that was
but
good.
that
Okay.
included what we
Thanks,
normally
Rob.
give to the senior center.
That's a
what
total,
we would
55,214.
normally give to
55,214.
our smart credits, and what the
Alright, just
CDBG. Now they're saying, no, we want you to 85,000, and you can't, we want your smart credits, and we want your CDBG.
Right, but that's when she has to
general
back
fund is 75.
13,803.50.
Right, but in
That's what it
turn,
was.
it's like, but we
Okay,
still
yeah,
have to
right.
get up
And what are
to
the
at least the
credits?
185,
That's on the
and
Alice
before,
fix.
we were taking the, smart credits as part of that. So there's 50,000 in smart credits.
Smart, that's 50.
There's a $50,000 issue.
So there's three funding three pots for us, right?
Yeah, but the way that,
CDBG, general fund, smart credits, yes.
the smart credits, we don't get
CDBG
anything
is
for
not
that.
included in this budget. Smart credits are, not showing within this budget, because they're handled as custom agency. Normally we've, and then, so the only thing we're seeing here is the general fund portion.
So anyways, the last adjusted number that Kim and I saw is, for us, is 185,000. There is no reductions for CDBG, there is no adjustments for smart credits. So, we go 185 plus 55, 2.4 plus.
And again, just to spin off on this whole topic, is Allison does use about 20,000 of those smart credits for Parks and Rec. So if we're expected to contribute the, full amount of the smart credits, that's correct, actually 70,000.
70,000.
What we have traditionally given the senior center is actually only 50,000. So Allison, I think, has been part of these meetings, but that means that's an impact on her budget of about 20,000.
to her.
Well, then the seniors have to pay full price, you know, they get a reduction on their trips, so more of them can go. But they would have to pay full price, and they figure by the time that gets down, they want no sense in getting the bus, because nobody's able to afford it, because, you know, I think it is seniors using the money, and they are transporting seniors with a lot.
So So in this budget, there is $75,000 for community promotions, and I'm hearing that we would need 185 or one total?
Is that right?
185.
No, that's, you're about 10 short there.
You cannot use, they said, they don't want us to use that, we can't use that, it's only against that, that's the newest version.
The board is saying?
No, that's what
The
all
one-
the people
the
are saying,
last
we have to
page.
contribute 185,
We can't.
That's not negotiable, that's just.
No,
that's what they're saying.
That's what we had figured, we had backed out.
Is it at that point worth our time to run our own sparks training?
Well, I
But then
guess
again, the tie-in was that allowed us federal funding
Police
or
Crossing
grant
guards.
As soon as we
Crossing
get this out of the way, I'm
guards,
gonna
yeah,
talk
I
to
don't
Susan,
know.
find out what
Yeah.
would be the by
Yeah.
drivers.
I don't know, I
What
question
we
that.
pay,
Never made sense.
dispatchers.
Right, because, I mean,
Yeah.
it's getting to that tipping point
Maintenance
where,
people to maintain the vehicles.
Yeah.
not
Police
that I
department
wanted to, but at the
and
same
fuel
time,
and
there
all
were
that.
benefits, and now it's, but you're saying that you have confidence that
You're right,
you're
it's not
going
police
to reach
officers,
out
it's
for
not
grant funding.
They're not.
What's the original commitment here? For how many years if we like signed up for this?
Gary,
There is a year where we could possibly
school
back out.
crossing guards,
Is my
$50,000.
What's that?
School crossing guards, why is the police department paying for that? Why isn't the school board paying it?
It's traditionally where it's been.
That's where it's always been. yeah.
Well, in turn, if it does, then in turn, the police department will put it on their payroll, and then when they put it on their payroll, then they'll be in a larger deficit. So, and they are not police officers, they're just dispatched, I think. So, I mean, there is merit to that line of thought, but it's not, it's just a traditional responsibility. That's been for a very long period of time.
Other communities pay it,
It's a safety, it's a safety item.
pay for school guards.
I don't know what's, I never looked outside.
Mark, I
I
see your head
questioned it when I
nodding.
first came in the office.
In Warren, we paid,
The police department paid for the school
they were in the
crossing
police
guard.
department budget, but we had civilians that did school
Same thing we
crossing
got
guards.
here.
Because the argument is if you didn't have the civilians do it, you'd be tying up police officers to do it for.
Do it.
for
So,
doing
so
it.
in
The other
turn, it
argument
can
is why
switch,
the
but
school
traditionally
district
it's
paid
always
for it.
Yeah, I
been
agree.
there.
It's their property.
That's
I
right.
understand.
You know, tradition, sometimes things change. Especially when you're tight on money and they got a $100 million bond or something, you said.
What page is that on, Steve?
Right.
They're $100 million
Right.
for
Right.
capital.
They're about a
Page 19, I remember
5.6%
looking at that too.
fund balance, so
What's your number?
about 5.6%.
Not very good.
So, back to WODA, additional 110,000 is actually needed for that number the way I'm seeing it. And if because again, they're changing their, from the original premise that we could use smart credits and CDBG funds.
We never agreed to the CDBG in my book.
What's
I
that?
don't think you did, I don't
I
you
never
tell them
agreed
that's
to
gone.
CDBG.
So then in turn,
I never agreed to that.
Right.
Now, whether,
is 48,000, so then,
I'm gonna figure for the most and then back pocket, we can, I don't wanna say we got this and oh, by the way, we gotta add this, and another 185, and then back the CDBG out.
yes,
That's, but I,
Smart credits aren't eligible.
that's what they're,
yeah.
that's what I'm
yeah.
hearing from Kim, that that's the latest
Madonna gave
proposal.
quite an explanation on the smart credit, the smart credit is there, so how that works.
we did apply for like 5 different grants through Smart Bus recently,
Right. And like you said, once we have a,
just in case we
what do they
needed
call
those.
it when you put a group of people together?
No, this is an authority.
An authority.
An authority,
An
bingo.
authority, an
You
authority,
got it up there. Start to begin to, big alphabet.
yeah, an authority.
With authority
And then
together,
they-
the credits are more readily available, so.
And they could, yeah, and they could get grants possibly.
And grants too, yes.
The Ralph C. Wilson Fund, I know she's going after that.
Probably has to
That's
do
a
with
matching.
co-mingled with
Yes,
our
you're
credits.
right.
That's a
It's
90-10,
titled to
I
us,
think.
not them.
No,
These would be
80-20.
titled to us.
80-20.
80-20, that's.
That's some shit like that.
Well, it's because,
I mean, I don't guess.
But in turn,
yeah. It's because we're going in as a group, I think that's
Right,
what
it helps.
qualifies us.
But all the stuff I see telling you so far as for walkways or rehabilitation, railroad
Parks.
and stuff.
Parks,
yeah.
Ralph C. Wilson
put in a bunch of money down in Detroit for a park.
Did it up in Commerce Township too, but I think it was 80-20, that was 80-20.
I'd like to
But
put
it's-
that a little bit for like Riverwalk
Isn't
stuff and
that, that's like $25 billion, that foundation is
It's huge.
$25 billion.
It's huge.
And they got like 25 years, so basically $1 billion a year to distribute, they got 25 billion years that has to be gone.
It's just for Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb.
I think he had
It's only for
Buffalo
Wayne,
Bills went
Oakland.
to Super Bowl 4 times and never
And
won,
Macomb.
and it's still $25 billion
Yeah.
left for the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, 25 billion. I think that was
So
the
I
number.
would like to pursue that stuff a little bit more.
Okay, so that, anyways, you did see the numbers, 185,000, that's,
So are you,
yeah, about 10 to that.
you want us to add 110 to the 75?
Bingo, yes, that's where we're at, that was in, again, we were coming into budgets, and like I said, Kim sent a very stern, professional email out, I'm glad she did it, because it was perfect, it was perfectly worded. I did see a response, but I didn't read it, that was at 20 minutes to 7 this morning, and I didn't want to start the day.
I haven't seen that response
I
yet.
didn't want to start the day reading that, but, just see what it is, but, so the worst case scenario is 185,000.
Okay, I'm just spinning back to page 1, and that's gonna make the general fund number, push it from a black to a red number
That alone.
by 90 grand.
Yep. Just so
Everyone knows when we do our presentation.
But you can take out my 90.
Kim.
You can take out my 90
Yeah, it's true.
for 2020.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Still be a little bit, we're talking about 10 and taking away 10, so it's 100, so we'll
A
still
little-
be 10,000 in the red, right? So, where are we gonna put that under? What, just put that general fund, or are we gonna put it under a department?
Right now, we just have it under community promotions.
Community promotions, keep it there then?
I mean, what's the title
Till we
of
wait to
it?
see what the dust settles on this.
I believe.
Yeah, let's wait to see what they got.
Pretty much the title's appropriate, what's it, senior transit,
The title of the line item, sure.
right. And we are only writing a couple of checks. If we set up a whole, if we did it ourselves, then you might consider putting that somewhere. If you're just
Right.
writing several checks, quarterly checks, I would
This is
assume,
18.
to this organization, so it's appropriate to keep it at where it is.
Yes, I agree.
It's just you writing the check to the change.
Yep.
Can I, for clarification purposes, back to the fire contract for a minute, the contract says 5 off at any given time on vacation, but it also, there's a personal day that they're allowed as well, which isn't
Ah, okay.
part of, so the number is 6, but it's broken down 5 and 1, I just wanted to.
You're correct. I remember hearing that.
Yeah, I don't wanna, I said 6 on vacation.
It's based off of,
You know, her number was showing like 324,000 too, and that doesn't, 185,50 and 55,214 do not add up to 185,000, so, or 324,000, so. Maybe look at that number again too, just to make sure. Okay. So development services, we went down that list again, we're good with everything there, nothing else. The one was the tri-party road thing was the last thing that we determined, we don't have anything on the radar for that, so that's just ixnayed, so. Okay, treasurer clerk. The clerk we did earlier today, so that should be fresh in everybody's mind. Whose mind, what mind? Where in the world did I die? What was the song, right? You're a rock and
Peter
roll fan.
Frampton.
Yep.
Do you feel like I
Do
do?
you?
Oh, don't go
do
there,
you
please.
Feel like I
can't
woke up
stand
this
Peter
morning
Frampton.
with a water glass in my hand? Okay. Good with the clerk?
Yeah. Nicely gave up. Moved her, shifted her expense to 2019 so that quota can go forward in 2020.
Yep. perfect. We're back close to a black number again, so.
Still short
Okay.
slightly.
PD, we had 1, 2, 3, well, there was 4 yeses there, but 1 was already budgeted for, to the SAD. We're good with those numbers? Okay. Actually, 2 of them are there, so yeah, 1 and 4. And then, police capital improvements, we had 2 no's at the end, and we had the 40, 60, 60, we had 160, we're good with that.
Which one was that one?
The police capital improvements.
Oh, yeah, yep.
The top 3 were yeses.
Yep.
Okay, and then over at the court, to be determined over there, and again,
Part-time, to be determined.
Yeah.
Part-time.
Considering their cases have declined, I'm not sure if.
yeah, no, I just, again, like I said, it's just that 243 or 253 extra jobs people had to do, and again, like I said, it's just like not knowing what all goes on over there, like I go to graduations or stuff, or the department, that's about it, or they have an open house, but the actual, I did go to 1 trial there. I did get called for jury duty, but that's my extent of the time over at the court, but I know they're understaffed, but every department in the township's understaffed, so it's just, I just say for right now, that's enough.
And I was gonna say, I think as things move forward, when officers actually are
That's what
hired
bring in
and paid
cases.
for,
To come
so then
back
in
and
turn,
review.
it would
Right.
maybe be
Right.
prudent to be
We'll
reviewed
look
next
at it
year or
then.
later
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Towards the
We'll look at it down the road.
Revisit it again, but so for this point in time, like I said, just, like I said, we're
Well,
right,
they
right on
admitted
the
the
cusp.
caseload's down, so.
of a
Well, they
break-even.
said
The
that
criminal part went
the
up,
criminal's up, but the actual like fines
but you would
and
think they could
fees-
spread people.
Yeah, even it out a little bit. I just think that we need to wait and see what happens when we get the police department up, and if they get more cases, then we'll look at it then.
Okay, again, like I said, in running the numbers and stuff, where we're at right now, the general fund transfer is $1,747,816, so. And that's what the number they gave us, they figured that, 1.1 million in revenues would be equal again this year, so you take that away from, what they had in the indigent defense revenue, indigent defense expense, and then, the budgeted expense, and our match for the indigent defense contribution of 31,123, that number held the same, so we're at 1,747,816, so. Close to $1.75 million.
So the 21 would be, it says TBD here, but that was included in the budget?
No.
No, it was not?
No.
No.
Okay.
It was 17.
It was not.
It's a no.
And it is.
Times
Okay.
25 times
We can't pick up 21.
That's
Correct.
22,321.
Well, to me, revisit it.
Absolutely, we will
No.
revisit
But
that.
when MIPC,
We will revisit
for
it.
that position, it would probably.
I agree with that.
Page 6.
Jill,
We'll revisit it.
one person and Jen's that does a lot, again, so
So for that part-time, when the police are hired,
My department's swamped. I mean, we're slammed and next year's not gonna get any better. It's gonna get worse.
And you're just beginning to realize that because this is the first time that you've had a
Proposal
situation.
three.
Yes, this, how proposal 3 is playing out. So like I said, there are other departments that might need part-time people.
Okay, and then, F and HR, what does that stand for?
Fiscal.
Foul balls and home runs, or I mean, what is it?
HR hits home run.
Home run.
Fiscal and human resources, okay.
Okay, they were both yeses anyways. Anybody, everybody good with that?
I am good with that.
Next page.
library was good.
Yep, the library was good, yep.
Library was good.
Becomes more interesting on the fire.
Okay, now we're at fire. Like I said, we've already factored in that overtime. We have. That's been factored in, and we're just gonna we've got to work, and I say we gotta work on numbers, we do, and you know, she's got an election going on right now, and the other one, the trustees, you guys are full-time, but don't hesitate to call. I'll work on the numbers too, I love numbers, so. 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 8 is, hold on, I'm gonna take my shoes off so I can count.
18.
Oh, no. Not me, I've got 2 toes cut off, I'm just kidding.
Or could be smelling.
Yeah, you know, yeah, wait, no, at 3:40 in the afternoon, no, you don't want my shoes to come off.
We have more, that's why he has morning meetings.
So anyways, we'll continue looking at those numbers, and they said that they've got to eventually work, they have to, so. And I'll continue working with Matt and, Carl, and things go on, so, but, you know, we got 3 things in there in the budget, you know, the personnel, the rescues, the fire trucks, so that's a lot of money right there, but it's all paid for by the SAD, so that's that. And then, the staff vehicles, there are no. So, and then, capital improvements, the metal roof, yeah, that thing, you can see it, and the next thing it's be rusted, then the roof will have to be replaced, so jump on that and get it. The parking lot dumpster enclosure right now, no, and then we've got, the generator's already budgeted for, and then, the bricks system there. The 96, that one's taken
Yep.
care of too, SAD, so both of them are SAD projects, and they're covered. So a vast majority of that stuff was taken care of by the SAD, so that's good in that regard, so. Gear and equipment, going down there, you know, we've got, the 10 sets, we looked at that, and, okay, need that, but then, the next one, you got the Challenger mobile lift, that's a no. And then the next ones, and again, the 3 of them, next 3, they fall underneath the SAD. So, and then the next one we've got down there is the ice gear, that's no for now. And then, the last 3, and again, 2 of them fall under the SAD. So again, like I said, the transfer, you know, the SAD was, what, 5,954,000 roughly, close to that. You know, the fire department got 60% of that, and again, they've allocated the funding good and got things that they needed, so that's good in that regard, so. Cable, look at that one.
We do like cable.
We gotta give him a hard time, something, gotta give Gary
Well, we
something.
did kind of give them.
He did get a hard
Give
time.
him a hard
We gave him a
time,
hard time.
okay?
Okay.
That'll last them all year.
He can come back for another one if
Yeah,
he needs it.
yeah, if he wants another one, come on.
I know.
Well,
we did a good
you
job.
wouldn't speak to me earlier today, but I just thought you might, maybe I was talking to yourself, and you said, hi, Gary, so.
I'll go tell him that Tony wants to see him.
Isn't there anything we can
Sit
take
him back in
away?
that chair.
You might not, Derek,
Increase something.
Derek
We can
might
give
not
him
come
an
back.
admin.
You might not come back. You might be having to call the fire department.
You're safe, Gary, go ahead, stay.
Keep doing the scheduled broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Get it right.
IT,
Yeah, get it right,
we
please.
looked at the position in IT, and again, it's something we looked at.
I personally think we need to really look at this harder, and I think we need to get somebody in there to protect, or at least know where our equipment is.
I think that position's a lot more than that.
Well, I know it's more than that,
It's
but that's,
tough.
that's one of the main things.
We added a position there, oh, help me out, guys.
Nick,
2 years ago.
2 to 3 years.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't think he's been
I
more
do
than
remember that.
He just hired when I got was 6, so 16.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 years
So
ago.
he's lost some, he's got one back, and,
What do you say, Margaret?
What do you think, Eric? Do you think this is really,
I mean, he would put him to good use, Jared's would put him to good use,
You see a necessity in the township for it right now. Can we get by another year without it?
I think,
I'm a
Yeah.
little worried.
Yes.
I do, yeah.
I do too.
I think that
You
we
know,
probably.
you guys know more because you're here all the time.
I'm right next
Kim's
door.
not saying nothing.
The
so
stuff
try
that
read
he's
her
going to
mind.
forego, that he would like to do, that's valid, but I mean.
Well,
But
you
we
worries
had-
me,
but
he
this
said
year
the
compared
equipment, you just don't, you know,
To
it's all over the place.
2019.
They do
That's the
get,
scary
one
part.
person does get pulled though at election time because they have to help with your computers.
I would
Nick
think
does
under
get
fire,
pulled
that would be
to
number
help out
2.
with the computer.
And we have 3 elections next year.
And they help out on election day. I think they use 2 people.
Bring back part-time?
They use Andrew.
Is that
And they,
possible?
I forget about Andrew.
If
They
there's
have
somebody
Andrew.
who's
He's
getting
IT
They won't
IT,
be running
especially
the
around
phone
election
project
time.
though. They have Andrew.
Yes, they have Andrew and, well,
That's been
Walt
stuff.
is
That's
at
done
the
other than
police
that.
department,
I haven't heard
Walt,
any complaints, they just said
so
they
that's
run
another
pretty
one.
good.
Okay.
And
I
Mick,
like it, I like it.
Does that end up being overtime for any of these people, or how does that work?
It
They're managed.
shouldn't be.
No, they're management.
Way better.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
sure, they have a certain level they're
Good call.
entitled
That's a
to
good
it, but I
perfect
think they work
description.
very flexible schedules, so you may not see them here
Right.
at, you know,
8 in the
after
morning.
4 o'clock in the afternoon,
But
they
they're
may
here
come
at
in at
6 in the
7
morning.
and.
The reason why I'm
Or
hesitating to
they
say
become a
anything
chronic
is because
issue.
I just know that this is really important. This
That's a
area.
time bomb.
It is, but this has become an issue to a lot of companies and municipalities, and it's software licensing and equipment, and they're solving it by other ways than hiring a person to manage.
There's
it.
How they- how they-
something.
They're consultant companies that
They're-
come out,
yeah.
that sign
They're
a
just like you did
privacy
for the phone
agreement,
system.
they do the inventory, and then they leave you with software to do, and they sign a privacy statement, so they can't take your licensing and everything.
But you do run into the problem with it, when they wanna walk into PD doesn't get happy, no matter who they are.
True,
I'm
no
just-
lawyer.
Well,
I'm
there's
just-
one person assigned to PD now.
Wally.
Wally.
Yes.
But still,
But that's
but
where he
still,
was
it's an
before.
overall of Jared's
He was at the
responsibility of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank's in charge of DPW, Eric, Andrew takes pretty much all the library, but Jared's still.
Jared's over everybody.
Right.
Not Wally anymore, Wally is a police department
Right.
employee. But yeah, but that's the
Okay.
one we made him a
So
police department
Jared,
employee.
Mick,
And just like you said, that's
and
what,
Mike.
he would help out
4.
sometimes, but what it was doing,
Yeah,
it
right
was
now
creating
there's
overtime
4.
situations.
Yeah.
And he wasn't counting his hours, and we were, and again, that's an FLSA violation, so you say that this can't be anymore. So they just made him a police department employee, doesn't cross over anymore.
Karen, you were talking about having people, consultants.
Yeah, and I haven't researched it, I mean, I have researched it in a limited sense, but I don't know how much these companies are. I'm sure it's related to how much inventory you think is out there, so it's based on
But that's not
hours.
all that he wants this position to do.
Right,
Right.
but that's, I think that's the major
He'll be
driving
backup
concern.
for a lot of other stuff too.
Well, yeah, you can use them for other things.
Oh,
like Kim
absolutely,
or whatever,
Kim,
so.
Kim could use other people for other
Right.
things too, I mean, I think every
Yeah.
department can
So
make
it's
an
just not
argument
gonna be an
that they could
inventory
use
rush.
people for other administrative issues.
I think it would be very interesting to just keep our eyes open, if anybody hears of anybody that might wanna just see what, if there's a way to negotiate something somewhere. It's tough,
Even
it's. to
A
have that
college
budget.
intern position or?
See, I don't know if I like the
Yeah,
intern,
no, I don't either.
it's too private. Data is,
Yeah.
that is really important, and this person's gonna have his or her hands on it.
We got a lot of accounts online.
Yeah,
We got
and,
Amazons and a lot of people that we
Right.
watch
We
shop
do,
online
you're right,
through,
but
so.
the problem is if you do hire an outside consultant, you're hiring outside people too.
But
Even
you
Yeah, but they
though
sign the
you
agreement.
sign
They
a
do, they
confidentiality,
do.
there's more at stake than a college intern. So they're cheaper.
it doesn't appear that we can answer that question right now, but we should pay
Maybe it
attention.
warrants further discussion at
I
a later
would-
point in
I-
the
I-
future to, because, you know, a budget can be amended, but again, I think you have to come up with the right
Reason.
feel for the, and the reason is very good, but again, you know, he is working a little bit more on elections, but less on the phone system. That would be Jared himself, his staff would be for the elections. So, again, probably something to pursue.
Just, everybody keep their ears open, you know,
Right.
just if you see.
Maybe
you know.
we get the dust settled a bit, Kim, Barb and I'll sit down.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Just
in
have
my,
you come in and just, okay, explain to us, can you wait another year? And if you can find, but what's, you know,
Okay.
what are we looking at? What's this person what's this person gonna do? Can we bring him in for, middle of the year? So we, you know, I just see where we're at, you know.
at 90
July 1st,
million,
you know, just-
we're on the edge. I think we get above 100, it's almost, it would make sense to have somebody on staff as a budget, as a total budget. I think that's what a lot of people are using as kind of a number. It'd be nice, actually, a lot of places, as they get bigger than that, are bringing somebody on staff to do something like this.
And again, I think he has started down the right road with doing the training for people.
Oh, yeah.
He's got some ideas that keep the data more secure and things like that. So again, maybe it is a topic to circle back
Yeah.
to, because it's adding a full position to the budget.
Understood.
And we do have insurance against cyber attacks as well through MMA.
Yeah, I still don't wanna go through that.
No.
petty,
No.
But,
We
yeah,
don't.
it
It's just
is
a great
but it is a
find.
question that came up. But it is a question that came up.
It's nice to know that he's thinking that way.
No, it is.
I think that is very important.
Yeah,
And,
and he's,
the training is spectacular,
He's a
that's
very good
fine.
steward.
So,
I was very
He
conscientious.
wasn't, yes.
Okay, and then the two systems, capital after that, those two, so. They're both yeses, everybody good with those?
I'm good with that.
Page 3. Township wide. The township is 6 miles wide, it's 6 miles tall. When you do the hypotenuse of 6, they tell you what it was diagonally, but I don't, so I won't. Well, I can tell you what it is, because the hypotenuse of 12 squares is 17, so it's half of that. Hypotenuse of 6 squares is 8.5. You know how you know that? Because the run on the hip roof is 17. It's a 412 pitch, it's a 417 on the hip.
And he's having fun with these numbers at,
yeah.
you
That was
know,
a-
4 in the afternoon.
it must be getting late in the afternoon.
That's how he gets slap happy, you know, he starts, you know, doing
Throwing
math
numbers
problems.
around.
At a higher level.
It's like a big like swirl.
Check it out, when you get back, draw a 6 square and go diagonally, see what's it, because I know that, well, I think it's like 16.975, so you just round it up to 17, you know, it works out good.
Get you there.
So if you're walking up a hip brook, the hip is flatter than the brook itself, because it's at a 45, not a 90. Don't ask me what, it's like if you walk upstairs diagonally, they're not as steep as you can walk straight up them. Because you're going in an angle, the one gets wider, right, so it becomes less of an angle.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm serious, no, come
I
on.
believe you.
I learned a couple things doing carpenter work,
Just a couple?
yes. Okay, township wide, we got a bunch of yeses that, to be determined.
I am the one who's put that, the to be determined on there for 110,000 for the facility audit. Without a person in the F&O position, I think it's something that either mid-year or once the person is better situated, maybe a more productive thing, but I definitely like to
Get them in, get them up and running, get their feet wet.
and then maybe put it on, definitely as one of the items for next year, because that's.
Okay.
I think Russ was okay with that, didn't we talk?
Yep.
we
Yeah,
talked about
you know,
yesterday
so-
about that.
So that's why.
So just that,
But I- Right.
2019, or 2021.
Yeah, a lot that's on this list. We've got 2 open positions that would be very involved in implementing it, so
Yeah.
hopefully we get some people.
Yeah, so first we need the people before we
Yeah.
can do the audit, but the mindset needs to be there for next year.
Sure.
Can I ask for something on the F&O part of B, the cemetery info board, the signage? I'd like to take that off and put handrails in the auditorium, seeing that we haven't agreed to it, but you wanna clean the carpet and clean the auditorium up. I think handrails are really important in there.
I think if they redo the auditorium, whenever the F&O person is actually hired, that would be something that you
Something
might
ask them
just,
about.
you know, specifically circle back with them. Because I think if they're redoing the carpet and everything, the handrails would be,
That'd be the time to do it.
Absolutely,
Yep.
okay.
Could probably fall
Okay.
underneath that price.
So I'm gonna
I was
put,
just
Yeah.
looking at 20,000 and they said
What'd you say,
10
Don?
grand or something.
It could probably fall
Do
under
handrails,
that
which I
price.
find hard to believe.
yeah,
I
in
find
turn, I
it real
think
hard to
if you're
believe, but
redoing the
I
auditorium.
took that one out, put handrails in there.
So I think it's, again, more a matter of getting a person in here
Yes,
to get it and add
yes.
that to their scope when they're.
we're just doing it on the one
Well,
side.
F&O put the other one in 2 months ago, last month. The one going up to the dais there.
Ron put it up.
Ron put it
Yeah,
up,
Ron
but
put
I
it up.
By the
thought that they
stairs.
would do it. Yeah,
By the stairs.
you were involved with that, weren't you, Don?
I might have been.
You might have bet you want to take credit.
I get involved in so many
But then
things,
we're gonna
sometimes
put
I
it on the
wonder.
one side, where the ramp takes you up. We're not gonna put it on the other side where stairs.
Right.
we're gonna put it on the
Well,
one
no,
side where the
no,
ramp
I
takes you
think
up.
it should be on both sides of the auditorium when you're
All the way
coming
down the
from,
wall.
when you're coming from the outside all the way down, there should be handrails
Okay.
for elderly people, people that have walkers, myself, whatever, you know, older people. I think there should be handrails on
Both sides, okay.
And Sandy Worth brings it up to me all the time, the planning commission, because she walks with a walker, and she basically walks the walker, but her hands are by the seats. And she pointed it out to me,
Part of
so.
that facilities audit, would that be to include to make sure that it's ADA compliant?
I think it was, I think Dan had, given us a quote, and that was more, in terms of mechanical systems. ADA compliance would, I think, actually be a different one, and again, if you, from my understanding, if you actually change a building, then you have to change the ADA compliance. If you don't rebuild or remodel or anything, your standards are different, so maybe it would be some type of advisor in that area. So, yeah, that was worth to add it in too, because that's, maybe small things can get us a long way
Yeah,
to help people.
well, we would be remodeling the auditorium, basically.
That one is,
Right.
but again, he's also saying, maybe there's a few things within the whole township that would be low-hanging fruit that would be help make the township buildings more handicap accessible. Just like those, I mean,
Yeah.
it's there, it'll be a cost, but, you know, there's probably some simple things too, even though we're not totally remodeling.
Okay, and again, looking at this, and this is just a suggestion. We're going to $230,000 chairs and carpet at the town hall for another year in the auditorium. Put the grass over rails and stuff, obviously, you know what I'm saying? And we're gonna have to have something there, again, we're gonna have to make sure the pressure points on the rails, or the breakaway brackets and stuff, that they all comply. I know what Hugo had, basically, I saw the picture of it, it's like the grass bubble rails you see in commercial bathrooms, you know, like the stand, that's what that was. Heavy duty metal rails, you know what I'm saying? And the trouble is, they're not continuous, they're, you know, they don't.
Sections?
You know, they don't make them 40 feet long, you know, where you can take them in wood, you can miter them and take them
Right.
continuous and have the wall brackets on there, but you probably need to put the wall brackets like every 3 or 4 feet, you know, for sturdy, for rigidity.
yeah.
But again, and then, so, but again, I'll look into that.
I think it's something that really
I'll talk to
would
Brent
help
and
the
Dave about
elderly,
code.
and, you know, just, it's something that we should do to make it more comfortable for people's visit. And you see in the audience, there is a lot of people that are a little wobbly when they walk. I try to use the right word, but, you know, they could use a little assistance, some help.
Well, the best one
I'm
was,
trying,
when I went to the
I'm
West
trying to be
Bloomfield meeting,
politically
there
correct.
was one guy with a cane beating it on a chair, and another guy in a walker, and he was smashing it on the floor. I thought, I love this.
Yeah.
These people are feisty, and they're ready to go, yeah. No, they were, they went, listened to them, so they amped it up a little bit and got people's attention, so it's good.
I don't have any problem with that, Gary, with the 230,000
That-
What do you-
possible.
what do
that is
I
out of,
mean-
that is out of the revolving improvement fund, which is just an if it's not used for that. I
Right.
mean, you can reduce it, but it's actually reducing the revolving improvement
Right.
fund rather than the general fund.
No,
or
no,
the
that's,
other
yeah,
fund.
but I'm just
So-
saying, it just, it'll be there for next year, you know, it's in there, it'll be there for next year, just a suggestion, see where we're at.
Yeah.
But, might be 250, 260,000 next year too, so that's
Absolutely.
another thought, so, you know, it's just a suggestion, see what
The
people think.
redoing of the auditorium
Oh,
with the
yeah.
seats,
Yeah.
possibly
We do have
this
delaying that a
pricing.
year maybe.
Hmm?
Redoing
think
the
it got
auditorium
this
seats here, is
pricing
that
last
all
year.
new seats?
Right.
So
That's
you've
not
got 2 years of.
covering the seats?
I think
Then we'll be putting brand
part
new
of it,
seats in
yes.
there, seating.
part of
Oh,
that, nobody's there to run it, so.
We kind of,
We did have them
the
cleaned.
project manager.
Right.
Yes.
That's
We
it,
have
it's
the
so-
seats cleaned.
We just
Yes.
mentioned that, and that's why I said, hold on, that's just.
So if you flip to page
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
which,
Oh, the
I think so,
janitors,
oh,
oh,
I'm
I'm
there.
Oh,
Good
our
question,
F&O.
that project,
Yeah.
I think
Our
there's
F&O.
a
Well,
few
they
projects
haven't cleaned
that
the-
would probably
I
take
mean,
its
Okay.
place.
They probably did it recently.
But if you wanna
but
reduce
prior
it,
to
it's
that,
just going to,
been a long,
revenue
long time.
exceeded the expenditures exceeded the revenue.
They're
So
getting
on
old.
page
Yeah, and I agree, it
Two.
needs to be freshened up, with freshening everything else up.
246 fund
That might be something that could go another.
would have some really.
We can wait a while, it's not a necessity, not like the building out here's cracking, we got
So,
the guy
instead of
restoring it,
these-
you know,
negative 318,
Or the
that's the
community
number
center,
that
I
will
mean,
change, it will be less.
You know, they
But I
need
think-
windows to keep the heat
Think so,
bills down.
you know, what take off.
They need a
Maybe-
roof to keep the water
Or
out.
at
Leave it
least-
there, maybe by mid-year,
Right.
we got somebody in that would be ready to take the project on, I'm just saying. So maybe just leave it, because we don't have, the biggest thing is we don't have anybody to run that project.
So that
So
is a,
That
that
said,
does have.
we can do a number switch, or we can just leave it there for now, and it said, and if we don't get somebody to do it, then we use it for something else and allocate additional funding next year.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it there. We don't have a project manager per se right now.
There's enough deferred maintenance to warrant a
Yeah.
number like that.
At least some type of.
Yeah, I'll talk to Ron, and I know this won't be a union violation, but maybe him and I, the week between Christmas and New Year's is a 3-day week. We could put the grass bowl rails up in the auditorium. I'm getting to get some new carpenter work again, so.
Well, that's what I said yesterday, you could probably, he said 10,000, well, Gary could probably do one in his garage for, on his lunch break, you know, for a
But
couple
I'm just,
bucks.
but like I said, we're just,
And I think Russ.
No.
No, but I think Russ
Something
also
just happened.
says
That's what I
that
was thinking.
because you
It's
will
It's just
have
gonna
not
appear
been,
between Christmas and New Year's.
running F&O, that some
We
projects
don't know what
may
happened.
not
Santa
have
Claus
gotten done,
came
so
with-
there might be available.
What a
funding
Christmas tree.
within
The elves and the
2019
shoemaker.
budget To do some,
Yeah.
even if it's
Oh,
partial.
It's a pedal.
Yeah, it was a
We're
bear
just like-
shoot.
get the right stuff put it up there.
And even if it's
So
a
we can't
more heavy duty work, I think
Yeah,
that
Gary
there's
can
a lot
do
to
that.
Russ and
Would
let him
really,
jump.
would really, the bracketing, like I said, the
Yeah.
bracket's gotta be sturdy, so.
Right, and I
Yeah,
think,
Gary
like I
knows
said,
that,
Russ
sure.
kind of indicated there's funds available within the
I
2019
mean, where they
budget for.
put the ones going up, since
Put a lot
they're
of
wood.
wood on people's hallways
Yeah,
and stuff,
but
and houses, that's residential.
The new ones just put
They're wood.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law has a rail
So,
to get to the bathroom.
Can we get like
She's
one of
got it
those
in her hallway.
bulky chairs or something? I'm worried about.
Scooter.
Maybe cheaper, 230,000, but
It goes right around.
we put them on both sides. I put one right down the middle
She
too.
does
About
get
3
on the
quarters. Yep.
back. But that's as far as she walks.
You
So-
gotta have inch and 3/4 grass bowl, you gotta have inch and 3/4 the wall stands. Give them 2 inches.
Okay, so we're down to parks.
yep, and they were approved for their 2 items, so.
Yep,
Very good.
but the fields look good that they were not that they.
The 3385, I think, is gonna
Label.
come out of 2019, it sounds like.
Which one?
I think the 3385 is gonna hit 2019, because she thought she'd get
Oh,
that
yeah.
done this
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
So,
That's that one, okay. And then F and O, that's strictly cleaning contract, that goes without saying. Water and sewer, that's enterprise fund, that's not general fund, so, they got a no on their one truck. They got a no on the sewer increase from 250, 500,000, but just like 250, but everything else, we're still good on that.
Yeah, why did they, or why was it no on the sewer line? They cut it. But not the okay with 500,000.
They're gonna, we're gonna come through with a rate study after the SAW grant. So the analysis has been done with the SAW grant,
Uh-huh.
and then there'll be a rate study that's done, then that'll be brought to the board, and that'll be the funding structure, dedicated
Okay.
funding structure to get that.
So that shouldn't even really been on.
You know, well,
It's part
part of the
of it.
overarching thing here too, and kind of a backdrop of this whole thing is, we always tell department heads, bring it to the board's attention, because if you don't at least talk about it,
It's like
they
on the
they
radar.
don't know, and they don't know, like, kind of like Jared's employee and a bunch of these other
Yeah, we
things.
wouldn't know.
How are they gonna know if you don't talk to them about it and tell them what you're up against, and, So-
Yeah, that lining is really,
we talked to Russ about that ahead of time, that, yeah,
we-
saves a ton of
critically
money.
It was a no with Russ. It was a
Yeah.
no- it was a no with Russ at the time, like I said, once we get the sub grant and the reevaluation, see where
Okay.
we're at.
it's close, the engineering company's got it, they're gonna have a summary report and a study of what you need to do in what year and the whole capital thing.
Okay.
Then that goes into evaluation of the whole 590 fund and what rates need to be adjusted to do this activity and stuff. And then have to come to the board, because the board
Okay.
oversees the rates and
But
stuff.
these-
so that's
bring
where it's
stuff
going to
us
be
on the
very
basis.
important to have a positive vote on, that rate increase, because that directly affects the township's
Yes, I know,
infrastructure.
and it saves
Not,
money in
not
the
the
long run,
pass-through that
just
goes to
saving
the
up
counties
pipes
and stuff,
and-
but it's here that.
Sewer.
No, it's been a very
No,
successful,
No, kind of, it's
operation.
Water Authority, that's Waterford Township, yep.
yeah, it's been very, very
So I said,
successful.
once the evaluation's done and the cost analysis is
Okay.
done and what we do, they said, and then again, it's like when they need to review a lift station or need to put in something, they come before us with a budget amendment, and they got money, like I said, they got money in
Okay.
their fund to do it with, so just, that could go back on at that point, but as a right
Yeah,
now,
all in all, this thing really saves money from tearing up the roads, replacing sidewalks, grass, whatever that they.
For sewer, it works really well, the lining. For
Yeah.
for water, it's kind of the reverse, kind of the old cut and take it out. That's what the cast iron.
Oh, they don't do that for the water, huh?
They do, but it's not
They
as,
got like
quite
a
as cost
boat.
effective.
You know,
but
they're
Really?
It can be done, but it's not.
I thought they had something that like shot up like a balloon or just the liquid force.
It is, I mean, there is that technology to do that. They tend to like to do that on the sewer side more than the water side.
Okay.
Yeah, running a temporary water service, and some of the water lines that are smaller than what they want, then if you put a liner in it, it's like an artery.
Oh, I remember the temporary water lines out front of the tower.
Yeah,
It was a nightmare for me for a while.
just like, that's kind of a hassle too, so.
Oh, I did run it over and ripped it off, tore it apart. And of course, we lost water, and my brother's flipping out, instead of calling DPW, he's hooking the thing back up. He never said a word. I come back, what happened? He goes, don't worry about it. I found one employee that he hooked it back up. He basically just pulled it apart. I don't know if he had to have a wrench or something to tighten everything up, but he wasn't losing a penny that day.
It's 55,000.
But yeah, it was,
Well,
the size of the holes out there.
Yeah, quite,
Oh, yeah, they are.
Car ran it over, a little road car.
My neighborhood too.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner from me.
well, what is part of the main was,
It is amazing.
because you're reducing the revenue in the
Oh,
revolving.
that's right, yes,
Yep.
so it would be, yeah, like about 10 or 15, yeah, okay.
So-
Yeah, I would like that, yeah.
So what Gary and I were talking about was basically spinning off what he had said about the auditorium. And we felt that if it's not, then there might be something else. But if we reduce that number to 200,000, then maybe the transfer from the general fund to the revolving improvement fund could be reduced by about 25,000. So the revolving improvement fund still stays in the negative, but it's, you know, again, we always look at that twice. But it will increase the revenue, the expense side of the general fund transfer. So that will give a little bit of a positive number to the general fund. Mhm. So then in turn, you know, the impact of WODA.
And they, that makes it a little less than 300,000 there, in the improvement revolving fund.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
So it's just small tweaks, but we get the lion's share of improvements that might be needed.
Right.
And yet we don't have a, that's right.
Did you have that 110 included?
That is not in there at all.
So that was the 110 in and then, 110 out and then the 90 back in.
No, the 110 for the audit.
Oh,
You know, that was, we never put it in.
Okay, I was just,
And then because nobody's here, we're not doing it.
Gary, where would you have a board meeting if the auditorium was torn up for a period of time? Where would you held?
Fire department.
we would.
Library.
No, you said that's something we'll have to talk about.
well, if we get,
Library would make sense.
well, if we get one of those ones where we got a 3-week period,
Yeah,
Yeah, you just have to start on Tuesday morning or right after our board meeting. Well,
Sometimes
a
we
board
have.
meeting, we would have 3
Yeah.
weeks.
That's their room.
you just have to schedule it that.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
places. Go to the community center,
if it's nice out, we can have it in the parking lot.
play the gym.
Hess Hathaway Pavilion,
And if you do it in the summer.
at that Hess Hathaway room or
And
that.
we can do it in chunks, because you've got the front podium,
Warming up,
and the
you know,
stairs.
warming up too.
but I know Cable wants to run some additional lines.
We can,
With
it
the
would
carpet.
rotate.
We have the library, the
It's all tore up, and he wants
I
to
have
have
seen
some lines for Cable, so.
They got 3 judges.
Well, you can also have, when we do it in December, when we only have one board meeting.
Well,
Sure, we run out of
Smaller
places.
Smaller
There, yeah, a
crowds,
month
how's
right there.
Now they're
do
getting
all
into
work.
the holiday.
Yeah, we'll take
Yeah,
out
and then
Christmas
at that
Day.
time we would know
We'll
if
give
we had
Christmas
money
Day
or
off.
not. And at that time, we would know if we had the money or not throughout the whole year,
I
right?
know. Oh, Shelley looked out the window.
Yeah, we only have one meeting in December. Take a month between December and January.
And so she goes, oh.
Some businesses get real busy at that time because big companies are closed down during Christmas.
They are, they are.
I know, we're busy with Christmas and New Year's, and then taxes.
Get a $200,000 project. we'll
But
find
if you
out
can
what
get
works.
them
Okay, it's not working.
in between that, where we have that 3 week, sometimes we get that extra week in there. If you can get
Yeah,
it in
that's what I
there,
said.
you should be able to get.
There's some months that we have 3 weeks.
Hey,
in.
Gabe, I wanna run one more thing by you.
Okay.
We've consolidated down to 2 days this year, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 overruns, okay? When we run over on time, nothing significant, but my suggestion is, for the last 2 hours of this day here, next year we extend out the ones that need more time, and then we'll do 2 days of budget meetings and do our wrap up on the 3rd day in the morning. What do you think?
Or possibly we do it in 2 days.
I think 2 days is good.
I think I love it. This works perfect for me.
2 days works good for me.
That's why I made the suggestion.
Yeah, I just think
You
2
wanna do-
days, and we ran over just a few minutes here and there,
And we still have, I mean, in third, we still have.
and I think I ran over some of it.
We
I
could
promised
stay till
next year I'll
7 or
keep
8
my
o'clock
mouth
at
shut.
night on the second day if we had to, and say,
We had to.
Can't make a promise
we
like
could
that,
have to say.
I know I can't, but
Yep.
Don't
And we
try
could
to
also-
tell
I
that.
hope you would forgot about it by
Come back
next
the
year.
next day if we had to. Maybe Gary won't though.
But in turn, how Warren does it instead of keeping going.
Warren does an
I mean,
all
I
day
would agree,
Saturday.
but then it was kind of like, we need
All
to
day
stay
Saturday.
focused, yeah.
And every department and commission is scheduled, it starts at 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and it goes until it's done. And you're just a number as a department, you may
No,
be
go ahead.
5, 6, or 7.
We got
They don't even put a
one
time
more
on
we're
it.
gonna
You
go
just
over
have to
here.
make sure you're there.
Oh,
So you gotta come really early, for
Stay
make
the
sure,
whole day.
and make sure you don't miss it. But they wanted to do it in
Derek's
midday.
got a couple more things he wants to go over.
What was that?
Okay.
Saturday, they
They
do
do
an
it.
all-day Saturday budget hearing.
Oh.
All departments and commissions are all stacked up, and you just get a number, you're not like at 11:30 or 12, you're number 5.
Take a
And so-
number.
I would,
So usually what would happen is like I would be at home and the controller would call me and say, hey, we're getting close to here, you might wanna get in the car to get here. And so then I would, try to time it so you don't sit there all day.
A long day.
I would
Yeah, but they used
prefer.
to do them in the evenings, and they would take 3 or 4 evenings, starting at 6 o'clock till.
Yeah.
That is
So
very,
they
What's the,
decided they'd rather do it
no,
on
I
Saturday.
would like them to come
I
back.
think the way we did it this last time, the best way of doing it myself.
I do too, this is,
But I would
this has
prefer
gone
to
really
either
smooth.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or
be, to be after the election personally.
That's just me.
I would prefer it to be after the election. That's my
Problem
desire.
is,
It
they
gets
just
too
have
late.
to have it, yeah.
It probably
approved.
gets too late.
yeah.
But this is a critical
Well,
week.
next,
I know,
next
but
budget, you're gonna
so
be
I
going
didn't
crazy
know
with the
It's a critical
presidential
week.
election and budget.
Next year?
Cookies, I knew.
Yeah, next year she's gonna.
So I would prefer these meetings maybe to do
I knew you.
maybe a couple weeks earlier. This is a.
Whenever you guys pick the dates, I just like 2 days myself.
Me too.
But you move them up, you gotta work with them on them they gotta start earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes it job
And Barb's good, and
So
Barb's
you're saying
busy,
maybe middle of September.
and Barb's busy until the end of June.
well, no,
with
that's when we
audit.
have the preliminary one.
Well, it's August. If it's after
You can
August,
move it up a little bit, both of them.
September would be probably pretty
The
good.
preliminary in our budget here would be real
Actually,
close.
September would be really good.
Mid-September,
And the thing is, as I go
September.
through.
Not sure if
online,
we would be ready.
is to,
For the preliminary, maybe the beginning of September. No, you're shaking it, no.
No.
Then the budget.
You have, what do you have going on then?
in a good location.
Payments, the last day to pay your taxes.
September 14th, the 14th, yes.
Oh,
Awesome.
So right after that,
I
though.
used to play basketball there.
I'm good, whatever you guys tell me.
Last week of
And it
September.
was an old US.
That's what I was.
Doesn't matter to me.
And so it had a little
I'm
stage,
gonna
and
have
it had a
to-
small gymnasium, and then it had like
Last week of September would be better, or the third week of September, after the 14th. After September 14th would be better,
So,
if we could do that.
well, what about October? But the thing is, well, the problem is we have to.
Well, she's gotta get ready
We
for
have
the
to-
election next year.
No, I'm not, no,
It's
but I'm just, I
what
don't
Barb and
know if
Derek
it's
have to do after we.
too early, because we have to get it all staged. She's saying,
This is bad time for election.
Right, so then is it going into after the election, but then some board members will,
Not be here.
they might all be, you may all be here,
Oh, right.
you know, but it is, you know.
The first year in 12, there was a whole change of board except for me and Margaret. We were the only ones from the old board.
We were here.
Oh, yeah, you saved us really. As
I
always.
remember that meeting.
Yeah, it was a whole new
How
board.
can I forget?
That was your
Myself
first
and
one?
Margaret.
Try. It's
Uh,
like a traumatic event.
What happened?
Yeah, I was just gonna,
wow.
Hey,
And just-
Gary didn't
it
get
was
no help, I
Barb
mean, he
and-
just got elected,
and
man, we
Lou
got
and
thrown,
me and
we got thrown
Derek
in the
and
lines
me
then.
and-
The supervisor, he said.
just real quick, if I
Figure it out.
could, wrap up on a couple of items. I
So we
appreciate,
went, we talked to the union.
I appreciate everybody's time and their attendance and all their effort. As you can see, a lot of these,
It was,
a lot of these items, they're just tough because it's really, in my view, there's not a whole lot that comes before the board that's, that you just cast out as a bad idea. Most of them are just trying to make it work and trying to do the best you can with the resources you have, like any business, family, or company. I think you've done a good job at that, so I applaud your effort and your work on that. Getting back to the OPEB, we'll hit you with this one at the end, but, because I know we're focusing a lot on 2020, but when you look out into the horizon and we look at our projection models and stuff like that, the corrective action plan was accepted by the state of Michigan, and that was a positive, but part of that assumes change. We calculated it in 2019 dollars, about at least a minimum of $2 million worth of change needs to happen to make it viable going forward. Because
Okay.
like we mentioned, with all these departments, we have people retiring and stuff like that. Every time somebody retires, you're happy for them, but in a way, it's a new expense that's not, because we pay as you go
Sure.
for retiree healthcare, so it's like, ugh.
so
So
you,
that.
so you have, now you have a retiree, but you
And a
also
new
have a
hire.
new, and you have a new hire, and that's.
And most
very-
people think, oh, somebody retired, oh, you would just go and hire somebody
Well,
again,
the
right?
No, we're actually
pre-65.
gaining
You
one
do,
more
but you
person
gain
then.
the expense of the
Yeah, we're
retiree.
gaining one more person expense.
It does help, but it's not quite at that part of the curve, but you are right, you are correct.
Do you think we need to throw more into it?
It is true.
Whenever possible,
Oh,
we have to look
whenever
at
possible.
the revenue side by putting as much as possible, when possible, into that trust, and then constantly, be looking at the expense side of healthcare, you know. We can, I know payroll and benefits and HR constantly look at, and sometimes they come to you, what health benefits are offered and what's the cost. So if those are cost effective, then it reduces our expense, you know.
I would encourage you to talk to Gary about that. You know, we've had some meetings on that. That's where we did the dependent audit, and that was, I'll call it low-hanging fruit or first step. But there's other things that need to be done. That plan assumes that Waterford Township is going to make changes as it goes along. It's not like we just filed our taxes and like, ooh, glad we got that done.
Yeah.
It assumes further actions, and they can come in different forms, you know, expense side, revenue side. Gary's done a lot of number crunching on that, as you might expect, and showed some good leadership on that, but please reach out to him on that too. I think we're probably looking to have more meetings in the future on that
Yeah, for
at
the-
some point, so.
Yeah, because we have to, again, each show to the state that we are working
We're
forward.
gonna just keep that momentum going. And it's gonna come to the point where it's just tough. It's gonna be tough choices that need to be made. And that's where everybody's just kinda gotta get on the same page. That reoccurring theme about, you know, converting to the new style of benefits and wages and, you know, trying to compete. I mean, we're an employer that competes with the surrounding communities, and just a reoccurring theme. So that's a hard one. It's one that you really can't solve today, but it's just something to think about. And, you know, employee retention and, you know, trying to take care of people that are here. And then, again, on the facility side, you know, the rec center, it's just something that's not gonna go away.
It's getting very old.
And what form would that want to take? You know, I threw it out before. Gary's forgotten more about construction than I'll ever know, but I don't know if it would be some kind of a thing where it could be a stage, you know, a part A and a part B. And I know if there's negative sides of that, it costs more to, you know, knock down walls later and expand and stuff, but there's gonna come a point when that building just
It's gonna have to be.
isn't usable, or it's just isn't safe or sound, or just becomes so dilapidated.
At that time, probably going a lot closer than we think,
So, I wish it wasn't like that.
Right, I'm
you
just-
know, It's a toughie, but that's,
You know, too
That's
bad
what
we
we-
couldn't partner up with like Wake Lake or something, build a new community center for both of us,
on the borders.
right on the border, so.
Good, bad, or indifferent, you still have to, if you have two communities, you have to build a bigger building.
Absolutely,
So either
right.
way, it becomes a matter of, we have to have a revenue source to pay for
No,
our share
it all
of the
comes
building.
down to revenue source, it's just a suggestion, I mean, I really don't know what to do, I think we're throwing good money away at the community center right now, I think she's throwing a lot of money away, but you gotta keep the thing going, so.
Right, yeah.
Right, and
We're between a rock and a hard place right now, really, what do you do?
So in Warren, we bought the old Warren High School that had been closed for many years, and rehabbed it into a large rec center, and had a pool and a library and a fitness center and a billiards room, and did all these things. And I would just say this, my father-in-law is, calling him a fiscal conservative is putting it mildly. And so while they were building that, me working for Warren, he would just like, what are we doing, blah, 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 and I'd have to hear it. And so after couple years went by, he was having some health issues, and so my wife bought him a membership to that place, so it's been several years. He stands out there waiting for it to open at 6 a.m. He's the first guy in line. He goes and he lifts weights, he sits in the whirlpool, he takes a seat, and he comes home, and if someone were to call him and say, hey, we're closing the rec center, the guy who didn't want it built in the first place would be out of his mind.
I've been to ours, like 8 in the morning, the place is
Right.
The people that I know is really used, but, we really, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. You're right, we gotta get the revenue, we got 25 million, I don't have it, the township doesn't have it, so what do we do? I guess
Well,
we
they
keep
said
putting a
we're gonna have to
Band-Aid
keep
over.
putting Band-Aids on that and keep it up and
Until
running
we
until
can.
we have
So we have
something
the
that's
opportunity
viable
to-
that will work.
And I think it's gonna probably have to come back, going back on the ballot, something I hate to even admit that I would enjoy doing. But I think it's really gonna have to come down to that. Taxpayers are gonna pay for it, we can't.
Well, again, something of that magnitude, the taxpayers, they do, like I said, they have to agree to it, they just do, you can't mandate it with a $30 tax.
I got my own personal thoughts about when it was put on the ballot last year, I think if it would run the primary, it would probably pass. But, the SAD was more important, so, the way it was all put on, but, I don't know. I know I get looks from Derek every time we talk about putting something on the ballot, and he knows how I feel about it, but.
Well, the Parks and Rec's a great example, a recent one of where, and everybody says, Allison has done a great job, and she has. You can just see it with the spirit that she has in her stewardship. She has done a fabulous job. But she had a structure where before there wasn't a structure. A dedicated millage for a service, it just works out great. Water and sewer has dedicated, people pay water and sewer bills, and the infrastructure gets addressed. It's just, same with like the transportation. I know, totally applaud you guys. I mean, do you need to do this WODA thing with senior? Well, geez, look at those people. Yes, they need that help, and they depend upon that.
They have to.
But if there was just a little bit of revenue that was dedicated to make a fund for pedestrian pathway and some transportation,
I think there's
it'd be nice.
grants out there that we need to research possibly.
There is.
There are,
So
but
then it comes down
but there's
to who's writing
also
the grant,
that,
you get a grant writer.
pedestrian
Down the road,
pathways is
we've got-
also
we
one
gotta
of those
entertain
things
that,
that,
higher-
Yeah.
to address it,
We need to
we
really
need
look
to
into
have some
that.
revenue stream.
Right grants, that's all you-
But then you've got the back end of it where the
Right
accounting
under
has to
administrative.
track everything.
Probably
No,
not
right, no, I
substantially,
understand.
because we get, usually really.
The problem with some of them,
What did Gary say, 1250
yearly.
pedestrian pathways in that?
Okay.
So you figure it out
I just
today.
took 300,000 and divided it by 26,000. I mean, it would be
But
different.
not.
The
Back
bag
in
and
the day, it would have been
It would- it would be like
$13,000.
Yeah.
it'd be
No.
probably like $20.
And we don't really know,
$10 a
maybe.
household for
maybe
So
40
again, some
years
would not.
and 13 million, or per, excuse, per parcel. Real estate parcel would have been $13,300,000 that was generated in a 43-year period, so it just.
It would have been nice if that had been kept in place, because again, that was just a small amount of money, people were used to it, and it would have, kept things going along the way, and there wouldn't have been
And what
as
that
much
was,
disrepair.
what that was doing at the time, that was putting in new sidewalks. Well, guess what? The sidewalks aren't new anymore. and they need to be replaced, so that would have been a perpetual fund for a perpetual ongoing project. It would always amend and just keep going, I did this stretch, and just keep going, and what, hey, we're right back to where we were 20 years ago, let's start over again, and just, it never ends, but again, you always have good pathways.
Senior transit is important too.
Yeah,
It
maybe that
is.
could be combined into that, it seems like they're cousins, somewhat.
Yep.
Because even if you do get the money and it passes to build the new community center, you still are reliable on the current millage passing to run it, right?
Yes, that's true too. And that's often overlooked,
Right.
was the fact that you have a bigger facility. It is in better shape, but at the same time, it might be slightly bigger or whatever, so, and you have to furnish it, you know, again, some of
You have to
those.
furnish it, you have to man it.
And then you have,
Brick and
you
mortar's
know,
expensive.
so they're just factors, they're positive factors, but
There's a
sometimes they're
couple of small things to end with, right? OPEB and the rec center.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Well, she was talking about sleeping at night, those are the ones that I'm like, oh.
Those are the ones that keep you up.
We walked in with a
The one that
big
keeps me
negative
up is
balance.
just,
These are topics that we're actually talking about,
You
we're
called
not
me on
positive
that
about,
one. I get it.
you know, we.
What's nice about this one is I think we can solve it. Bye.
You can find that rainbow with the pot of gold.
Or you
Yeah,
keep chipping
but
away
yeah,
at it,
for the-
when the
No,
time
exactly.
comes,
Your
No,
program,
where,
you won't get them even
but by
if you
talking
do
about
it,
it,
it's
people
set.
are familiar with the topic.
You could, but I don't wanna rush it so fast
Can
that
see that.
it's kind of thrown together. It would be very difficult.
I think if we're actually gonna ever try and get a rec center, we need
Next
to start
Tuesday is the day.
seeding. I think they could, it happened way too fast.
No, I don't think
Think
so.
they're gonna do that for you?
I think-
Nobody knew about it.
I think the township in and of itself, as a municipality, can give neutral information about any of these proposals, like this is gonna be how much stuff. And it really takes, engaged citizens out there, usually there's some type of, I think Allison has it, where citizens have to get engaged to do some of the signage and the promoting and how that comes about is very important. Like you said, you know, we can start talking about it, but then when they kind of start carrying the momentum also,
People that use the
and
facility
then
should be.
it works very well.
Yeah, that's not enough to.
But they had a lot of
to vote for.
negativity
But both
from
of
the
them, but again,
seniors.
the positive
Rec
outward,
center,
if all of the,
citizens-
if all of the
Yeah,
words
citizens
are
also
on
about
board,
that road issue
is
with their-
a
Goes,
big
And those are
positive.
high
in some
dollar
type of
items.
newsletter, you know, through the chamber, trying to feed
Right,
it.
but
Feed it for a
there's-
couple of years in advance, and then bring it. So that everybody understands what the benefits are.
What's that?
Just
Just
like a rec
start
center or
starting the
something.
Oh,
seeds
yeah, you
early.
got it, yeah.
You know, you start talking about it a couple of years before you wanna put it on a ballot.
Well, the Parks and
I
Rec
think it's
millage
continuously
failed in
talking
the
about.
2012 ballot, it passed in 2014. The police SAD failed in 2012 and it passed in 2018. Like you said, there were things, but one, it got introduced, but what you're saying, introduce it, not on a ballot, introduce it and promote it for a couple of years, or give it
Plant the seeds.
exposure,
Right.
give it a publicity, get the word out there, you know. But we had, like I said, we had a committee, we had a community center committee of people from all walks of life, businesses, restaurant owners, you know, just like that. And it just, but again, like I said, it just was over a short period of time.
That's what I'm
It's
talking about.
over a short period of time, but you don't ask for two tax increases in the same year.
Yeah, that's true, but if you feed it, you can always find that one
Yeah.
election that, you know what, this is the time, let's
Yeah,
get
you're
it on
right,
there.
absolutely.
Let's have
But
our
you don't-
town meeting, let's do it, everybody should know about it, you know, but
You don't get one in the primary and then ask for another one in November because
whatever.
people say, I just gave, you know, how much you want
Right.
from me. I think timing's everything, just like you said.
I
Well,
just think education is
It
a
lost
big
in
thing.
21 out of 21 precincts, it lost. I mean, a couple of them were very close, but it still lost in 21 out of 21 precincts. People said they didn't want it, they just didn't want it, and they were good with the one we got, and that's where we're at, and we'll keep that one going.
Well, people just don't understand, don't know how to use it, you know, people that use it understand, and that probably really don't understand. We understand because we know the
'Cause the
nuts and
people that
bolts
were
what's
there
going
didn't
in
know.
there, but
There is
you know,
one
I think
person-
the average Joe, like my wife, she don't ever go over there. I go in there for the youth assistant meetings and I see the white, the rain drops out of the ceiling there. You know, the water stains. I see alongside the walls, so I know it's in bad shape. But I don't think the average Joe really understands it and,
The people that do activities there and participate in event and functions and stuff, that they understand.
And they would be the great ones to be the word, to get the word out.
But they did have a meeting there last year with that group of people, and it was contentious.
It was gonna like change.
Yeah.
But I just think the timing was wrong too, because, you know,
I
you're
don't
asking
think
for
that
two
was
things.
one of the points of contention.
They feel they get lost and forgotten about, there's a lot of.
It does.
There was some,
It's
sometimes
emotions.
when these things come out, there's certain things that, you don't know that they're going to be an issue, so you don't look at them. So the fact that some people, I feel, maybe thought that it wasn't designed for them, it wasn't designed, that maybe the seniors weren't being included, that it was for the whole community, but they felt excluded maybe a little bit more. That wasn't, I don't think, a factor anybody was thinking about, because they are actually the group that we felt needed a new building. And so that was just unexpected, you know, to work through that, you know. And actually, the police and fire debt millage was going away that year, which is why I think it was picked that, okay, it's not perfect, but it is going away. You know, it was after the police and fire SAD, so there's just a lot of factors. And like I said, some people may never, didn't, maybe thought the design was too big or too something else, but have to have a minimum.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You know, that Waterford Rec Center over there, that's been a hot spot. I vividly remember that as a kid, you know, going, events going on there, wedding receptions, parties, like I said, 1964, Levi Stubbs and the Four Tops came to the CAI and performed, you know, and that was, you know, that was, I mean, you couldn't get near that place, it just, that was very, it was a hot spot. Oakland County Fair used to be at the CAI building, for years it was
Oh
there.
my gosh.
The Oakland County Fair was there.
See, and I don't remember it being sold that way
Helicopter rides.
this last time.
Well,
the
it
Oakland
wasn't,
County
it
Fair was
hadn't been
back
that for a
there.
long time, and
Well,
I
no,
don't
but
know that.
Not because of, but of state-of-the-art theater, you know, whatever, okay? State-of-the-art auditorium, however you want to work it.
But we put as much information out there as you could put out there.
Understood.
You know, and if people want to be educated, they get educated, and if they don't, they don't.
They don't.
You know, some people make up their mind, I don't care what it looks like, I'm not voting for it. Other people say, I don't care what it looks like, we need a new one, I'm voting for it. I mean, you just get that, those two groups of people, then you get the other ones in between that just either care a little or care a lot or care somewhat, and it just, it's a crapshoot.
So yeah, I think it is continuous work. I mean, you've got to keep it on the forefront that it is one of the township's needs.
So it lost by, I think, 8 points. So it wasn't skunked.
No.
It's not a 42-0, that's a 24-17 game or something. Just, you know, it's
And some, yeah.
some core support there.
Gotta keep saying it.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep
Repeat the
showing
message
what
and
it-
show why
Keep
it's
showing what it
needed.
provides, talk about property values, talk about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, property
And
values.
just keep doing it, and
But
then.
you don't talk
and
about
then
how to
pick-
improve your property values, because that means your tax rates will go up.
Does the land have any values?
That's what Mike Daly said one time,
Yeah,
about side streets.
Not-
Well, if you do an SAP, you repair your roads, now your property
That was
values
the
go up.
police.
Well, so do your property taxes then. If you're not planning on moving,
Oh,
it's,
that's.
Well, that's, you run into the argument there of, you know, I don't want to raise because I don't want to pay more income tax.
that's very good. I like
That's the
that.
argument.
That's what we were talking about earlier before.
No.
I wasn't
Yeah,
working
I like
Monday
that.
through
It
Friday
wasn't that I.
for straight pay and then take Saturday off for time and a half. I
Oh, I
wasn't
think
doing
it-
that.
that's
If I have to get as much on Saturday, I'll be
I
there
think
the
it's
first
in
day
here
of the
now,
job.
it's like-
It just, you work all week for straight pay, yeah, I'm gonna work for overtime.
So is there anything else? We're good?
You only had those two? It's gotta be another.
Want me to keep going?
Well, he did, I mean,
I want to thank whoever bought lunch for the last 2
Yeah,
days.
I
Thank you very
agree.
much.
You're welcome.
It was very, very good.
Thank you very
This has
Yeah.
been very informative. I'll keep my mouth shut next year somewhat, so we get out of here a little sooner.
I thought we did great on time.
Actually,
For 2
I did
days.
too. I really
mean, I
did.
really, I just.
We filled up 2 days, but they said it just,
Do you think we
Who knows what's
shorted
gonna be on the
anybody in
radar?
time?
No.
No,
Everybody
they had to
seemed to.
do, they had to keep their pace up, and like I was
Right.
slipping Matt,
Oh,
time,
yeah,
like
that's
like
good.
20, 15, 10.
Oh, man, yeah, you have to watch the fire department.
Because, I mean, they'll keep going,
it's
but.
like Jim's that water show, 5, 2,
Yeah.
1, 30 seconds.
we give you kudos for doing that.
We'll bring Kim's timer in here.